My next guest is a pivotal and established member of the Fieldwise team here in Norfolk. Jared, thanks for making time to be here today.
Yeah, it's an honor, guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm Zach Miller with my co-host Vance Neidig.
Nice to meet you.
And we are touching base with Jared Kruntorad today. Let's start with some of your past before we get into the Fieldwise stuff. So where did you grow up, Jared?
Grew up in Ewing, a small town west of Norfolk, about 50 minutes, so not too far away. I being from a small town, it's ag community. My dad's worked in ag pretty much all of his life. And that's kind of how I went down the road of center pivot irrigation. Worked for him growing up when I was younger to have some spending cash, and worked on pivots and did all that fun stuff out in the corn and bean fields here in the O'Neill Ewing area. So yeah, it kind of went full circle as far as Fieldwise and just kind of my background growing up and working on pivots. So it's pretty neat.
So growing up on a farm then, it was
no farm.
Farm?
No. My dad, he's been like a service manager, different roles.
Oh, so kind of grew up around farming, just
yeah. So Lindsay Zematic is the pivot brand. So they had a dealer in O'Neill that he worked for. And before that, there's a company in Ewing called Ewing Irrigation. So he's been putting the machines up, the big sprinklers in the fields that you see when you drive down the road. So he's put them up, he's serviced them, he's done everything with them his whole life. So yeah, working with him, my family doesn't have any farming background. My mom was a nurse, my sisters are all nurses. So it was just a good way to make some cash growing up and keep me out of trouble.
that's always good, right?
Go play around in a hot cornfield in the middle of summer when somebody needs a pivot right now.
Yeah, that the gearboxes and the motors and running through 10-foot corn, 100 degrees out. It's not the most fun thing to do in the world, but
no.
But yeah,
more kids really need to do that type of stuff.
Agree.
Probably be better for them
for sure. I mean, it did give me a good work ethic, like, understanding what it means to make some money and earn it and, pay for my own car and pay for everything I need to do. So it was good to get that experience.
For sure. So I'm assuming you went to Ewing High.
We got population 300. My graduating class had 12 people.
Yeah, seems to be a trend for the huge one. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Good town. I mean, yeah, it's the small town type of atmosphere. You know everyone. It was good. It was good education, good school. They actually consolidated with a couple of small towns in the area, Clearwater and Orchard. And they call it Summerlin now.
Okay.
So that's good to see that all the small communities are coming together to offer more to the kids and stuff like that. But
that seems to be a pretty big trend in the smaller areas nowadays too.
Yeah, you had to. I think it was the hardest part was just like your ego and like the camaraderie, like the battling the sports programs,
right,
and having that type of thing going on. That was kind of the most difficult part. A lot of these kids didn't want to necessarily join forces, but I think it was for the better.
Did you play any sports?
Played basketball, played football, did track because pretty much football coach made you at that point in your life.
But we were the same way.
Yeah,
I chose golf.
I wish I would have,
and I wasn't good at it.
Yeah, all my friends
just wasn't going to do track.
Yeah, all my friends played golf. I wish I would have, but we had a pretty good golf program there as well. But yeah, we had really good athletics, and basketball teams and football teams growing up, so it was fun.
Let's say going back to like the community of Ewing, I have yet to meet anybody from Ewing that doesn't have good work ethic and isn't a good person.
Yeah,
that I've met anyway. Yeah. I'm sure there are some out there, but
there's a couple. I won't say any names.
Yeah, you don't have to say any names. And just for the listeners, that's where Anita Larson, our other co-host, sometimes grew up there too. That's kind of how we met Jared here.
Yeah.
So how going back to the high school, how was that experience for you? Was it a good experience? I mean, it sounds like it.
It's kind of my parents could attest to this, but I was kind of a wild child. So I have 3 sisters, 2 older, 1 younger. And I hung out with some older people and probably did a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have been doing at that
and we all
age,
did that.
Started young.
Which was probably good for me later on down the road when I went to college because it wasn't so crazy and I didn't, I went to class basically. So
yeah,
I could adjust to it easy. But yeah, there wasn't a lot to do. So, having that small town, you hang out and kind of get a little wild on the weekends and have fun. But as far as the school, you know, everyone can probably say this. You didn't really try as hard as you probably should have back at that time in life, and should have focused a little more on the academics and just trying at different things, even sports. Like I was more kind of worried about what we're doing on the weekends and having fun. But yeah, it all worked out.
It worked out. So going from high school, where did you go to college?
Went to Wayne State.
State.
You know, that was around the time in life where, you know, I'm 37, so I'm not incredibly old or anything, but it was kind of that, you know, you graduate high school, if you want to have any chance in life, you know, that message that was like pounding into your head was you have to go to college. That's just the next step. Like, it didn't matter.
It was a huge thing around that time. Like there was a lot of companies out there that said, we won't even give you an interview without a bachelor's degree or at minimum an associate's degree.
Well, and you'd be looked down upon just by other, you know, parents in the community and things like that. Oh, you're not going to college.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
What do you mean you're not going to college?
Yeah. So, you know, I figured, you know, and you didn't really have, like, they didn't say like you should have a path, like you should have like this idea of what you want to do when you graduate. And with me, it was just like, okay, I have to go to college. What am I going to do? So I looked at different options. I'm like, okay, well, business, that's something you can kind of branch out and do different things with. So I ended up going into business management, and which was great. You know, Wayne State's really been growing. They have a good business program there, and they're doing some good things. Small enough classes where you have some one-on-one with the teachers and stuff and the professors. And
what was class size for you there?
You know, I'm probably about 25, 30 on average.
Thinking, yeah,
it's pretty.
I went to Ewing and some of the classes were like 120, 130. I didn't like it. So was Wayne State like your first choice, or did you have some other choices you were kind of looking at?
Yeah. So I was actually looking at playing basketball at first. Wesleyan, a few different places, had a bunch of scholarships. And it's funny because my sister played basketball, and she basically told me, you can go to college and you can, because I had decent grades. I could, you know, if I studied, I could do it and get decent grades. And I didn't get any like good academic scholarships. So, so basically I was like, either I go to college and pay for it with playing basketball, or then I had a conversation with my sister. She's like, you have to understand, like, when you go to college and you play basketball, it's not just, you know, the season. It's preseason, season, postseason.
It's basically
holidays.
a full-time job.
It's a job. He's like, so she's like, either you're going to go play basketball and pay for school, or you're just going to get a job and enjoy it and have fun while you're there. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have fun. So I ended up working at the Max in Wayne. I'm sure you guys have been there.
Yep.
In the kitchen all 4 years, and used that to kind of pay for the books and all the different stuff you have to survive, you know, just food.
Right.
Pay for the ramen noodles.
Yeah.
Tostino's pizzas.
Exactly. So that's what I did. Ended up getting a minor in computer information management while I was there too. So it's funny, you know, just my whole life, you know, I started working on pivots when I was 14 or something, and didn't really think I would ever, well, that's kind of one of the reasons I knew I had to go to college. I'm like, I don't want to do this shit for the rest of my life. And ended up going to college and getting a business degree, and then ultimately ended up starting a business and kind of the stuff that I was doing way back in the day. So it all kind of came together.
Came back. Yeah. So what helped you you kind of went through the narrowed down process of college. Was the basketball choice like a burnout thing?
Kinda, yeah.
That's kind of how I was too.
Yeah. We were very successful. We probably lost like 15 games all 4 years. We were like in our NVC conference here, you know, we were just dominating, got to Lincoln every year, and just could never, you know, get to the big show, you know, and, you know, I don't want to go down memory lane and
no, we don't have
do
to
this or that, but it's just, I think you do it enough, you do the traveling leagues, you do all that stuff, and it's like, then it's like, I think I'm just done with it. I'd rather enjoy it. I love basketball. It's like, to me, like just going and shooting hoops is like just a way to clear my head.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's, I wanted to make sure that it was still something I enjoyed in life. And, you know, I have some friends that play, and my sister played, and she's like, you know, you have to really want to do it. And, you know, I don't foresee myself going pro. So I was like, you know, I can find other means of paying for school.
Right. So Fieldwise was founded in 2008, and it's a family business.
Yep. Family. So the four original founders, myself, my dad, Ken Kruntorad, Brian Kolwinski, my brother-in-law, and my sister, Alicia Kolwinski.
So you've been in there. I was trying to think of how that would have been like when you kind of graduated, right? So you would have already. So you didn't have a job after high school. You went right into doing this, or after college. I mean,
right. Yep. So I went and did an internship for Northwestern Mutual.
How was that?
College. It was all right. And it's kind of what you got to do. It's part of the process, and there's one thing that was like, I'm kind of a people person. I can talk, and financial stuff. I don't know if I'm really interested in that, but I can figure it out. And then right around that time, my brother-in-law Brian went to he married my sister before that, and then went to work with my dad. He's from Texas, so when he came up on an airplane when he was driving up here on 81, like he's like, I didn't know what pivot was.
Yeah, center irrigation is not something he knows.
Yeah, so he's like, what are those circles out there? What I'm seeing from the plane, like what is all this stuff? So he went to work with my dad one time, and that was right around the time that like analog technology was coming out, like the bag phones were still a thing. I mean, so the infrastructure for cell communications in rural areas was just really bad, and so one of the pivot OEMs at the time had a monitor solution that they're coming out with. It was analog based, just monitor. I think they actually had start and stop on it too, but it was just a main panel mounted device that you could just start and stop and know if your pivot was running. And so Brian saw that, and he's kind of a tech guru, a real smart guy. Like if he wants to figure something out, he'll just read on it and he'll do it. I mean, he's just super intelligent, and so my dad's like, or Brian's like, hey, do you think this will be big someday? You think there'd be some potential here? And my dad's like, well, yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of be nice to know if your stuff's running and not have to drive around, check all your pivots all the time, and just the time savings, the money, all that stuff, peace of mind. And so Brian's gears kind of started turning, like I could tell. And next thing you know, he's whipping up a prototype, and he's bringing it up from Texas, and we're actually using it to we have a kind of other little side gig with our company called Fieldwise, where you can actually monitor your vehicles and stuff like that as well. So we're using it for that when they're coming up from Texas to see where they're at and how fast they're going and stuff. And next thing you know it, so going back to when I graduated, so I had to make a decision. I'm working on the company names. We're just messing around with the idea of starting a company at that point, because there's a big grower that my dad knew over by O'Neill that had 100 pivots, and he's like, hey, if you guys can come out with something that had positioning on it that I could see where the system's at in the field, he's like, I'll buy 100 of them. And my dad's like, okay,
we'll figure it out.
And so he went back to Brian. He's like, hey, can you add GPS to this and all this stuff? And next thing you know, he added it. And then, so I got a call one day. It was kind of right around the time I was doing that internship, and I was figuring out what I want to do with my life. And they're like, hey, you want to jump in on the ground floor in this? I'm like, hey, why not?
Right.
There's
it fails, but
yeah, there's an insurance guy under every rock. So you know what? Let's do this.
Yeah, right. You're not wrong.
No offense to insurance.
No, you're good. You're not wrong.
It's competitive.
It's a competitive environment. So that was kind of like GPS wasn't a huge thing at that time, right?
No, not at all.
Not in the consumer area anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty brand new. I mean, even with the machinery side of things, I don't think people were doing the auto steer and stuff at that time. It was all markers and the foam and all that stuff when they're out in the field. So yeah, it was fairly new to the ag sector, and just telemetry in itself was right at the beginning stages. So it was pretty cool to get in it at that time.
Yeah.
Where you could. So.
And did you do the software side of it at the same time? You kind of, when you worked through that on the hardware, and then the software also, was it all a one bundle thing?
Yeah, that's the advantage with Brian. So he's, he was. He had companies. I mean, he was building computers, and he was 14, creating mapping softwares and stuff when he was 16. I mean, the dude's just, when it comes to computers, he can pretty much do it all. So he was doing the software, the back end, the front end, the hardware design, stuff like that. And it's not like something that he went to school for. It's just something he figured out,
learned
on the fly, which is pretty amazing. Yeah,
that is crazy. I mean. So you guys didn't, a lot of companies that would try to do something like this would have had to probably third party some of the software, some of the hardware, and you guys were able to just do it all in house.
Yeah,
that probably helped profitability.
Oh yeah, when you have 4 people, those early years, It was a struggle, you know. I mean, when you're a startup in a 2-car garage, and you know, there's basically myself and then my mom and dad and my sister and my brother-in-law. I mean, there's 3 families that are, well, myself and then 2 families, but you know, everyone's relying on this type of an income,
right?
You know, it's a stressful situation where, you know, we're the manufacturer. I'm like myself, just focus on myself. It's like I have to manufacture this stuff. I have to assemble it. I have to test it. I have to program it. I have to go out and sell it. Then I have to go install it. Then I have to serve. Like you wear multiple hats at the early stages and you know, starting a business. So it's extremely stressful, you know, especially once you start hiring people as the years go by. I mean, like then you're worrying about all your employees and making sure, like, there's been consecutive years early on in the early days where, you know, there's a couple sales that came in towards the end of the year where, you know, it's what we needed to make payroll and what we needed to do the next production run, what we needed to stay in business, you know. So it was extremely stressful, and you know, working a ton of hours. Basically, I've given up my summer. I've just accepted the fact that I'll never have a summer for the last 15 years, and that's just what it is. You know, you work the 70, 80-hour weeks in the summer, and it's just ag. And I think a lot of people listening right now can relate to that. Like, if you're, you know, if you're in center pivot irrigation, if you're farming, if you're a dairy farmer, like if you're anything ag, like it just requires a lot of your time during the summer, and you just accept it.
I think it's a lot on the entrepreneur side too. A lot of people they see the end result and they don't. And we talk about it a lot on basically every podcast we've had with somebody, and on the entrepreneur side of it is like they don't realize how much time has been put in on the front end. It was miserable time. You're cutting corners. You're making. A lot of people don't want to make tough choices to have delayed satisfaction. They just want the immediate satisfaction right now.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of friends that I wanted this to turn out the way it did. I wanted it to be successful. I wanted it to be in the situation that I'm in right now. And you know, if you would have asked me this 10 years ago, like, would you be where you're at now? It's like, probably I never would have thought in my mind that we'd be here in Norfolk and doing the things that we're doing, but especially on an international level. But I knew that the technology, the team that we had, you know, having someone like Brian and, you know, just our experience in this, you know, with pivots, and my dad's experience with, you know, 20, 30 years and doing this stuff. Like, I knew we had the ingredients to make something, you know, awesome.
It sounds like it.
And so I would, you know, in college, you know, I'd have buddies like, hey, Mike, like, jump on. I need help. I need, you know, let's do sales. Let's do this. Let's service technicians and stuff. They would jump on. And then, like you said, like within a month, they're like, I'm not getting rich. I'm done. Like, it's like, you're not going to get rich right away. Like, you have to work your way up the ladder, man. I think that's like just the mentality today with kids coming out of college. It's like, I want to get paid this amount. I want to have a company vehicle. I want my weekends off. I want 40 hours. Like, you're not
I want it now.
Yeah, but it's like I've had to tell people straight, like, you're not in a position to say you want something. Like, you have to earn something.
Yep.
And that's just sad that, you know, kids have that mentality. And then, you know, the whole college thing, like, they go in there and like, you can't get a $10,000 loan coming out of high school to start a business, but they'll give you a $100,000 loan to go to college without a guarantee.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Like, because I think about it, the amount of things that, like, I mean, we do some entrepreneur stuff. Like, it's mostly service stuff between my brothers and stuff, and parents and everything. But it's, you know, if we would have just you take the loan for the little bit better equipment off the top, but you can do it the other way. You can, I mean. We started a spraying business with some old crude, cobbled together old farm sprayer that we turned into a 12-volt deal. Or my brother figured out how to do it, and yeah, it looked pretty rough for 2-3 years. Now you just keep moving that, and we've got 2 pretty sweet ATV sprayers. We do a pasture spraying business, and you just keep working up. Like, but you could, you know, coming out of high school back then, $10,000 get you quite a bit of stuff, and you're that far ahead, as opposed to going and, you know, doing, like you said, you know, your $100,000 student loan plus all the amount of money you spend on everything else at the time.
And some of those that go for the degrees are going for degrees that they're not gonna, like, it's not even forecasted to make that kind of money coming out.
Never pay off.
You know, and it's like, I don't know.
You're guaranteed one thing when you go to college: you will be in debt.
Exactly.
That's pretty much it. And as you get some, I mean, unless you're going to go be a doctor and you're going to do, you know, those type of trades. Where
But
it's
even
like
there, and they start out probably more in debt than most do when they first come out. Obviously, they're going to be able to pay it back faster, but having to get they have to buy a place to practice. It's just crazy that, I don't know.
yeah, it's almost like you're setting people up for failure.
Right.
Like, I don't know what the percentage would be, but it's just like, you know, I don't have kids. I'm single. I don't have to worry about it. But like, if I did, that's definitely a conversation I'll be having with my kid. Like, if you're going to go to college, like, it's not going to be a 4-year just vacation. Like, if you want to, you know, go learn about, like, and be well-rounded and, you know, have like social skills, go to Europe for like 6 months or something. It's gonna be a hell of a lot less expensive than going to a 4-year program just to screw around for 4 years. So
I think there's a definite need for the STEM field, probably like your science, your mathematics, your engineering, and your doctorates and stuff like that, or medical doctorates.
Yeah,
some doctorates are worthless, but I think there's a real need for some of that stuff, and the rest of it we can pretty much get away from and go to a trade school model.
Yeah. Huge demand, a lot of money in it too, like plumber, like all that stuff. It's because
we don't have
a six-digit job.
Yeah,
they're all aging, and like I don't see too many younger plumbers, HVAC, any of that. It's like the money can be made.
You can basically start your own business, and just, you know, as far as pricing, you can just pick whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, it's a situation where there's not a lot of competition.
Yeah, there's not. You learn it. Get yourself a van and some tools, and that's all you need. Buy it as you go. I mean, there is contractors. There's contractors out there that are building that way. Like, they'll buy, it's, you know, pay up front type of thing. Like, I need these supplies. I'm going to go buy these supplies. So let's go. Mm-hmm. And it's possible to do stuff like that. You don't need to have an inventory in that field right away.
No, that's how a lot of the single guys do it. Like the local general contractors, they have you pay up front for all your materials, and they don't have to foot the bill, and it works out. Going back to what you were saying, though, we talk a lot about how people think things just happen, like when events are put together, or just even the stuff you guys do with pivots. People just think, oh, it's just out there, it just happens. Nobody worked to have it put there, type of thing.
I did spend one summer building pivots. That was my summertime job. It was a job.
I'm sure
it was okay, but
a lot of repetition. And that's I think early on people thought, these guys are just buying some, third party product and reselling it.
Right. That's what I was
taking shortcuts and stuff. And
because that's how a lot of companies would do that, right?
You could, and you can, and, but if you want to maximize your margins, you want to be able to, one thing we've really, strived on or, take pride in is our pricing. And, we have affordable pricing. We're not trying to get rich off people. We just we wanted to develop, like the idea early on was developing a cost-effective way of monitoring your systems out there, and not just pivots, but your pumps, your moisture probes, your weather stations, electric fencers for the livestock guy. I mean, coming up with all these ideas, and we're just listening to our customers. But we want. That's how we've grown. That's how we've grown our products. Just listen to what people want, and you have to. That's how most businesses grow. Just that organic growth and word of mouth and stuff like that. But we wanted a reliable, cost-effective product that had good service behind it. And if you have those things, you will be successful. But if you're trying to buy a third-party company, third-party off-the-shelf type of device and marking it up, to try to get rich right away, I mean, it's just like, I don't think that's a recipe for like long-term success.
No, and plus you can't back the product then. Yeah. You guys as a company, at least this way you guys are making it, you're putting it out there. You can back your product with your full force.
Yeah, exactly.
Off the shelf, you're limited on your specs too on a lot of things. We find that we have a livestock equipment business, and we find the same thing. When you want to, finding the right springs or the right hydraulic cylinders or something, if you're not building it to your own specs and you're just going off the shelf, you kind of have to tailor what you want to do based off of just a generic spec.
Oh yeah, then quality control is big. Like if you're buying a device from China and you have an issue with quality or whatever, like what are you going to do? Go to the factory and try to whip them up, whip them into shape or something? It's like, no, you're pretty much you get what you get, and like they're not going to give you a lot of support. So if you're designing your own products, you have your own back end, your own front end, like, the ins and the outs, like you can make changes to it. Working with your CMs, like you go tour the facilities, get to know the people you're working with, develop relationships along the way. And that's a lot better route to take.
That's how it should be done. That's how you get things done the right way, I think, anyway. Can you give us just a quick breakdown? Like, do you guys mainly work in the pivot space? Or you kind of talked a little bit there. You guys have expanded a little bit.
Yep. So started just primarily like specializing on pivots.
Okay.
And then, like I said, like people would come to us and, hey, I have this pivot with this well, this pump over here that doesn't have an underground, like they can't talk to each other. Pivot shuts off, water's in one spot all night. Do you have a device you can put on that and just start and stop my well? It's like, yeah, okay, well, let's whip up something. One thing that we focused on, which made us, our design is very versatile. It's modular, so it allows, like right now we have what we call our nano platform. So it's the core brain of the device is able to be a pivot monitor. It's able to be a pump monitor, a moisture appropriator, weather station, fence monitor. So one SKU, one hardware platform can do a variety of things. So like from a dealer's perspective, like they can have one device sitting on their shelf, and a guy can come in and want to do all these different things, and he can just pull one device off the shelf, hit it with the right firmware for whatever application he's wanting to use it for, and boom, you've got a solution. So it's a lot less costly to have something that's versatile and modular like that versus like having a device for all these different things that you want to do.
Would some companies take that in a different way and yes, it could be the same device, but sell it as separate? Would some companies do something like that just to make more money maybe?
Yeah. I could see that happening. It's one thing we always try to focus on with our dealer network is transparency, because like I said, like we don't want people paying 2-3x of what it's actually supposed to cost, and so
which I like that.
We have transparency. Our dealers, you have your MSRP. They're going to try to we say, hey, like this is what you said. This is the MSRP, and if you go beyond that, obviously we're going to have a conversation, but it's not a good look for you, because that customer can call us directly
and ask what it costs
and say, hey, what does this device cost? Oh, it costs $700. Oh, these guys charging $2,800. Oh, well, that's a problem. I'm gonna have a chat with that guy. So yeah, it's good to be transparent with everyone. And
I think if you don't have transparency in business, you're really not doing it right.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. So does when you say your main platform is the nano platform or whatever, and it can be any of those deals, can it do can one platform do multiple probes? Could you have it in one field? Let's say you want a weather station, your well reader, your pivot reader, and your soil sampler in one quarter or whatever. Can that all run off of one platform, or is that multiple different platforms?
So the hardware set's going to be the same, but each device is going to have its own,
they don't speak to each other.
Right.
They speak to the software.
Each has
itself.
its own modem, its own way of getting that information out, which has data charges behind it and stuff like
Gotcha.
that. But there are ways of using like LoRa technology, which is a wireless LoRa module that uses a 900 frequency to talk to other devices in the field. And early on, when we started, cellular wasn't an option in a lot of these these rural areas.
Yeah. Right. It's still some places it's still not.
They're still, right?
Yeah.
So it's
it's only 2024.
Yeah.
So like, what are we going to do to make this, if it's not reliable and these guys are driving out there and, anyway, it's like, it's pointless putting stuff out there. So what we had to do was create our own radio network. We probably have, 600 repeaters, which a repeater is just a device we put up on a grain leg or elevator or on top of a grain bin or on a hill, anywhere that's high and has a good vantage point. We'll put a repeater, and then we have base stations that are scattered about where they're connected to an Ethernet or internet gateway or cellular. So we basically created network or signal where there wasn't signal before, and that allowed us to grow early on. Because we didn't have cell, and that just really sped up the process as far as getting devices out there, and so super fast and reliable, and was awesome. And so we've got the whole state of Nebraska blanketed, all western Kansas, eastern Colorado, Idaho, like Northern Texas. We've got all these local radio networks that we put up, and we'll work with growers and say, hey, you let us put a repeater on your leg, we'll give you a free unit, that type of stuff. You throw me a bone, I'll throw you a bone.
It's a good idea.
But when it comes to like multiple devices in one field, the more you're doing, unfortunately, like at this point with our particular business model, there's a subscription for each device. There is, we're open for the conversation as far as like a bundle, type of thing if you have multiple devices and stuff. But we've got the best price. Like we've got the lowest price. If you look around and try to do all the stuff like you're saying, and it's I feel like we're in a position now where like if someone's using our product and on multiple things in that field, they're still going to get that best price regardless of how that information is getting out.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I just didn't know if that's maybe in your thoughts of as the way the technology is moving, if it's something where those eventually down the road, maybe those devices start talking to each other and go to one modem to go out beyond that. Like your weather, you may say your weather station's your main one. Your pivot talks to your well, which talks to the field or the soil probe, which talks to the weather station.
The only issue with it is just the obstructions that end up happening. Like the corn gets up there. And like you have a sensor out in the field, in the middle of the field, and it's trying to like you say you're using a radio signal to get out to wherever the gateway is, probably in the pivot or it's out in the corner of the field. Like you start running into these things that you didn't anticipate happening, when you first put it out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
because there's nothing there when you put it out there.
So it's not, I 100% agree with you. I think that, that's obviously a good thing to do for people to just allow them to have some savings and cut some costs down. But, the more you try to do that in some areas, it almost just leads to more issues. And like cellular is just becoming so reliable with LTE and all the different all the different modules that are coming about now. I mean, it's there are areas that don't have it, but overall, I think the reliability factor is 10 times better than what
Gap's
used to be.
definitely closing. Yeah. Especially the more local networks, like US Cellular around here.
Yeah.
Trying to think of some other ones. They always say T-Mobile's across country, but you can't.
It's definitely not in the state of Nebraska.
I remember
AT&T's not.
What was it, Sprint way back in the day? Those commercials. Like, can you hear me now? And you're just walking around like all these places. Like,
Couldn't
I'm like,
Western
come
Nebraska.
out here.
Yeah, I was just like, come here.
You can't hear me out here.
You get past Norfolk.
This guy's not in Nebraska.
Omaha. You get past Omaha and you can't hear Sprint.
I always thought that was
I
funny.
remember that back in the day. I had aunts and people that had Sprint in like Minneapolis and stuff like that. And if they came to Norfolk, Nebraska, you ain't getting a Sprint.
No.
Not happening here.
No.
Yeah.
Going back to kind of how the frequencies talk, I worked in the cell space for about a year, and we'd always get phone calls in the summertime, like right when summer hit, like, well, we're not getting service anymore. I'm like, well, is there leaves on the trees now?
Yeah,
that's probably why. So it's kind of just
always blaming on solar rays.
right. Yeah. Chemtrails, solar rays.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. So I know that, like, you okay with talking about COVID a little bit?
Yeah.
Did that affect you guys much?
It was very difficult. Not so much just the 6 feet distance and all the crap they tried to make you do, but when it came to sourcing parts from vendors and suppliers, like
supply chain basically shut down there for a while.
Man, like there's some components, electrical components, that had normal conditions had a 3-week lead time that were like a year beyond. Like they just started saying like, well, you'll get them when you get them. Like when you're relying on parts to make a product and they're basically, and your lead times are doubling, tripling, like question marks. It's like, and then the price, things were just astronomical. And then you had these brokers out there that were just stockpiling parts that people needed, and they're just, screwing everyone.
Gouging them, yeah.
It was that aspect of it was extremely, it's a stressful time. We were just buying stuff up left and right and doing what we could to survive and making design changes to get have workarounds as far as things that weren't available. And so, I mean, that's really the only thing I can relate to with COVID. I mean, as far as COVID itself, I believe in a strong immune system. I believe in natural ways of I never took, it's flat out said, I never took the vaccination.
We say it all the time.
Didn't take the
right there with
boosters.
you.
I didn't do any of the shit. Did I get it? I lost my taste and smell. I guess I got it. I don't know. It was It is what it is.
Did it affect your guys'? I mean, obviously it affected that part of it. Did it affect your guys' saleability? Did you guys come down in any way?
No, I mean, overall, like we've grown year to year, even through COVID, like even 2012 during the big drought, like we've had some rough times with commodity prices. Like we've always kind of, I don't want to say been recession proof, but you know, we've got a product that has a good ROI.
You better knock on some wood for that one.
Right? I know. It's an election year too, so watch out.
I know.
But no, it's
Shit
like
could get crazy.
it's one of the Brian always jokes around. He's like, you know, I feel good. I can go to sleep at night because, you know, we sell a good product,
right.
and it does give people a return on their investment. So when you have something like that at a good price, you know, you kind of are recession proof because it's something that people are starting to realize, like, hey, we need this stuff.
I can save money if I'm realizing where I could be saving money in a different way. Yeah, maybe it's better to spend it here because it may save me 5 times that somewhere down the line.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did going through that make you guys maybe stockpile more? Stuff for? Okay.
Well, and then we have these CMs like up in like Buffalo, New York, and different parts of the country that, you know, put all these boards together for us and ship them back. You know, so we source the parts, they put them together because they have the big, you know, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 machines that do it all, you know, automated. And you know, like we were literally like ordering the components and driving them ourselves up there because we didn't want to take the chance of like shipping them.
I don't blame you.
Somebody can steal them or something.
And, you know, a lot of times the CMs will like source those parts for you, but they're coming back and saying, hey, we can't find this one. We can't find this one. And we're like, well, shit. And we started looking for it. We found it. Well, we order it. Like, why can't you guys find it? Like, it's your job to find it. So we can't even rely on the CMs to find this stuff. And, you know, it was just crazy. It was wild, wild west.
At least you guys found it. It seems like any problem you guys have faced, you've come up with solutions in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I think that's great. It's not that you don't just sit back and wait for things to get better. Yeah.
I think that's just the mindset you have to have when you're in tech, like when you're you know, in the technological sector, because you know, just you know, if under normal circumstances, technology is advancing at such a fast rate that, like, if you're not constantly looking for the best, you know, whatever component that's replacing this part and that part down, I mean, like, it's just advancing so fast. So if you're not keeping up with it, you're going to get left behind, and someone's going to come out with something better, and you're done. You know,
yeah.
Right.
And everything as technology goes, it's one of the few things that it gets cheaper. Everything gets cheaper. It gets newer. And it's maybe a little more, like the new one may be a little more expensive, but for a shorter period of time, and then that's going down.
Oh, yeah.
Like everything, it just keeps, like, look at TVs as an example. I remember I remember our first like 55-inch, the big ass, you know, the whole box. That was like $800 or something like that. Now you can buy a 65-inch TV for $300.
Yeah.
10 times better than what it was.
And lighter.
And and the wider one, just
a lot less. I remember like my grandma bought one of those. At the time, it was like, wow, this is the biggest TV I've ever seen. It was like 600,000 pounds. Like,
right.
Like it took all like the entire family and all the cousins to like get it into the living room, and like and then when it died, the day it died, like how am I gonna get this thing out of here? Like,
This is a great shelf.
yeah, it's still there to this day. Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah.
And that's funny because you said that, because Anita has one. She just got a new one for her birthday. And she has an old box TV that we're going to, I'm sure we're going to get voluntold to go move that.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I helped her move it in there, and I about broke my back trying to do that. That was 6-7 years ago. So I know, like, in the last few years, I have seen obviously an increase in replacement costs for pivots from my clients. With the rise of inflation, can you kind of discuss the challenges that you guys have kind of faced? I know you kind of already talked about that, but can you talk maybe to what the farmers have kind of faced, having to make decisions buying your guys' product or any other product because of the cost of some of the stuff that nowadays?
I mean, the common theme I see with with farmers is, you know, when commodities go up, everything else goes up, and then when it goes down, everything else stays where it's at. Like there's just like never.
That's kind of the ag industry.
Yeah,
the producers of ag don't get the breaks that I call it the support staff of ag, or the support industries of ag, I guess. You know, the secondary ag industries, the machinery manufacturers, the pivot manufacturers, we talk about it a lot. I'm on the beef side of it. So like your packing plants, they stay up, everything else goes down. And that's kind of a big thing that I've noticed. And it's always been that way in agriculture.
Oh yeah. No, it's unfortunate. I mean, the inputs are incredibly high. You know, $3 corn. You have a lot of these inputs. It just doesn't pencil out a lot of times, and you have these, you pivots, and it came down a little bit as of late, but they were pushing over $100,000 for not, it doesn't matter what brand you're going with, and it's just like 2 years ago it was $40,000.
Yeah,
it's like
used
Jesus.
ones were insane.
Yeah, we increased it.
They were pulling them out of corners of fields.
Right.
Yeah.
People were, the ones that they were done, you can't use them anymore. Then we're coming out of the corner and they're going up because that's all we can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone from 50,000. I think now we just redid most of our clients at like 120. And so 3 years ago we were
$70,000 difference.
Yep, in 3 years.
Crazy.
Just to make sure they're covered correctly. That's just nuts to me.
Yeah.
It's just nuts to me.
And it's so with that being said, I look at a $700 widget that you can put out on the end of your machine to monitor it and shut it off when it's raining and change direction and monitor your pressure and like all that stuff. And I think everyone else has seen it too. It's like at the end of the day, like on the grand scale of things, it's a very small investment for them,
for sure.
and they're getting something out of it. So out of all the things they're investing money into, all the chemical and the seed and everything, here's this little $700 device that like is helping me. And they look, I think that gives them some sort of like reassurance, like, hey, like this is worth it.
Yeah,
right. That's great to hear. I like that. You can just a minimal purchase for something that can pretty much monitor your whole operation.
Yeah. So we've got different we've got more premium, like we have what we call our Z5. So go a little background on the Z part of that. It means Zempat is where that comes from. My sister Hannah, she's 11 years younger than me, so she was really young when she was super young when we were starting the company. And she came up with the idea for Zempat, which means God of Earth and Cattle. So just a little background on what Zempat. But anyway, we call it, and it's kind of our game changer as far as how we were able to grow the company, because at the time, this was probably about 6 years ago, all the pivot OEMs were coming out with computer panels, and all the telemetry was baked into it, and so we're like, hey, what are we going to do to compete with these guys? They're getting full control, and it's pretty good price, except for the panel. You got to buy the computer panel, but it's like we're just and that's kind of the situation we always get into. Like we sit down, we round table, like, what are we going to do next? And then we start thinking, what does every pivot have in common? A percent timer. At least the basic pivots do, and that's how you change the speed on them. It's like, how about we develop a device that you can just take the percent timer out, slide a 5-inch touchscreen in, and give basically transform every basic old school crusty panel that's out there and turn it into a computer panel.
Right.
Throw a GPS out on the end of the pivot and have it talk to the computer panel and give you positioning, and sell it for a fraction of the price of what it would cost to put a computer panel out there.
Right.
So we're the retrofit, like we started tapping into like the retrofit market, and that was a game changer. Our Z5 has been like one of our number one sellers. It's allowed us to grow and allowed us to compete with everyone else in the industry. And but it's just those little moments in time, like where you get your back's against the wall and you have to like figure out a way to survive. So
it's great you guys do that, because a lot of companies would be in a good spot and be like, oh no, we're okay, we don't need to change anything, and then be out of business in a couple of years.
It happens just like that. Next thing you know it, your books aren't looking too good.
That's great. You guys do that. I love that. As far as like the inflation and things, how do you see the markets kind of going in the future here?
As far as the commodities, I don't know. It's just like it's manipulated at the top,
right?
It doesn't make any sense half the time when you look at it. So, what's going on? Election year, probably going to see it increase this year. I would imagine. I don't know. Farm bill, it all comes down to the farm. There's just so many variables. I don't imagine a scenario where farming is going to get to the point where people can't do it. Like, unfortunately, what I do see is some of the smaller farmers across the country are going away, and these corporations are taking over. That's what I'm afraid of the most.
It's just sad to see.
Yeah.
Also, what I was going to ask you too, I don't want to interrupt you, but just to add in there, how hard do you think it would be for a young, brand new farmer? Is it even possible?
It's possible, but it's tough. It's tough, and you gotta kind of like what I talked about. What I talked about when we started our spraying business. We had an old, we call it Fergie 30 horsepower Ferguson. Yeah. We drove across the pasture, and you got to look crude to start. if you don't have the land, if you don't have the machinery stuff as a young farmer, with your family coming into it, if you're got no family ahead of you, you have to swallow your pride. The only way to really do it and be extremely successful on it, if you don't have that lead into it and haven't started super early, is you got to look. I mean, you got to comfort be damned. You just got to work your ass off to do it, and it can be done, but it's tough. It's work. It's just kind of like what you had to do. I mean, you're doing 78-hour, 100-hour, 150-hour weeks, and you sacrifice. It's all sacrifice.
What I'm seeing on that side of it is the younger ones, even people like our age, I would call that younger in the farming space, are only renting land and farming the land. You don't see anybody owning the land.
And that's a tax issue.
Right.
Land tax issue.
Right.
I mean, land prices are high, but land tax is what's going to, that's what I'm afraid of in the ag industry, is that the land taxes will be so hard they're going to take land away from people.
And that's scary, because then who's it go to?
Goes to the government.
Yeah.
Or somebody that's going to give it to the government.
Do you really own anything if you don't pay your taxes?
Well,
that's the sad thing about the world we live in. It's like, I own this piece of ground. Do you actually own it if you don't pay your taxes?
No,
you own this house if you don't pay your taxes? You own everything? It's like, now you hit it on the head though. The rent's going up. There's some acres that sold not too far from here for $15,000-$16,000 an acre. It's like, you have to have something to build off of. Like, you have to have someone, your dad had to farm for that. His grand, you had to have you have to own some ground
to be able to do that. Yeah.
You can't go to the bank and get a loan for $16,000 an acre ground without owning some ground. You have to have some sort of, assets, equity, so, so if you're just starting, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. I'm a little worried for a future on that aspect, because the farmers that we do have are going to be, no offense to them, they're going to be dying off soon, and we don't have anybody to replace them.
I think around here there's quite a few younger people that have, I know quite a few that have gone through the family. I mean, they're still, the younger generations are coming up into it.
Some are. I just fear for the ones that maybe they didn't want to be a part of the business, didn't want to be a part of the farm.
I think there was quite a few in our generation, and I think this newer generation, they are joining it, and they are getting after it. And
good.
I don't think that part of it's dire. I'm just worried, again, they could own the land. That doesn't mean they're not going to increase the taxes if we don't.
Right.
If we don't fix that.
I mean, I think a lot of the land sales should be more private. Like, when you have, an auction or a public type of sale, you have people coming from all over the place, and they're running these prices up, and they're coming into these small communities. Investment firms like Gates comes in and buys a bunch of ground. It's
largest farm landowner in the United States.
Why is he buying this ground? So it's like, and I'm sure a lot of the local people are still farming it, but it's like, let's try to keep this ground, owned by local people, and keep it, safe and protected.
I've always had a hard time with that, and how to walk that fine line, because I feel one way about it, about stop selling your land to these people, stop selling your land to the Ted Turner, stop selling your land to the Bill Gateses of the world. But then, you hear what they're paying them. And I've always felt like I can't, I'm not in somebody's pocketbook. You do you. It's your pocketbook. That's what you want to do. But, and that kind of goes back to the, sacrifice a little for the greater good. Sometimes you got to do that. But that's me not owning a ranch that's selling for $100 million. It's just, I can feel one way, but it's not my decision.
Right.
Money definitely talks.
It does. That's how we ended up with a lot of the windmills and the.
We'll see what those look like in 15 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, windmills are nothing. Yeah, windmills are just crack dealers. But
so I'm going to back up just a little bit, because I kind of forgot to ask you, when did you guys move from Ewing to Norfolk with Fieldwise? And what made you guys want to do that transition?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, 3 years ago was when the conversation was first brought up. So the foundation here in Norfolk came to us and talked about a business park out there, so the Bradford Business Park. And at the time, we knew we needed to make a move, so we weren't necessarily, we were looking all over the place. I mean, logistically, like international, we started really growing with our dealer network. We've got like 250 dealers now throughout the United States, Canada, and New Zealand, and Australia, and across the world. And logistically, trying to just ship something from Ewing was becoming a problem. And so we knew we had to do something. We're running out of space. We're growing. Like, what are we going to do? They came to us and said, hey, we're doing this business park. And we're like, hey, that sounds great. So, yeah, long story short, we ended up making the decision to come to Norfolk. And, and then just from like hiring, a bigger pool of people to tap into, hiring's just, it's a pain in the ass no matter where you're at, no matter how big the pool is, but at least there's more people. So that's helped, as far as like production assistants and different stuff that we're looking for, service technicians and stuff. But yeah, so 3 years ago I moved. So I lived our building. So we went from a 2-car garage to a 40 by 60 building, which had a living quarters upstairs. That's where I lived. I lived where I worked. I was never late. I was always the last one, like it was great. No, it wasn't. It was terrible.
Yeah. You're always on call.
Yeah. Right.
Dude, yeah. I mean, at the time I was like, this is, this is pretty cool. Saving some cash and stuff. But it's like, I can never escape. Never had to escape from work. So I did that for 5 years, lived where I worked. And, so yeah, I was excited to get my own place, to say the least.
I don't blame you.
So yeah, once we decided we're going to Norfolk, bought a house, and about a year before we started, around the time we were going to start construction, like 6 months before we started construction, because I wanted to be around during that phase of it, just to kind of oversight and just make sure things are going good and stuff. And then, my family moved in with me, as a kind of a transition. Everyone's trying to find a place where everyone's doing something different. So they moved in with me, and big happy family under one roof, as you can imagine.
Right back over again. Everything's.
Oh yeah, but it's cool. It's like, so that, yeah. When I bought the house, and then like my sister and my brother-in-law with me. So I ended up like Alex is our production manager. Married my sister. So they moved in with me. They had a kid. So when Alicia and Brian come up from Texas, they had triplets. They have 4 kids. So it's like 6 people, and then 8, and then myself, and then we have there's like 15, 16 people on the road. It's like, I'm going to go crazy.
I'm going to go buy another house.
Yeah. This is a bad idea. Let's have this one.
But,
I'm out.
It's cool. I'll look back at it sometime, and my parents lived. I forgot my mom and dad. They lived with me too for a while, and they actually live back in Ewing now because they're fixing up the old house. But I'll look back at the time I've been able to spend with my parents the most, and just my family. Like starting a business with a family. When we first started, people would come to me like, "That's a terrible idea. Well, we don't want to start a business with your family." I'm like, why do you say that? I love my family. And then we started getting into
arguments,
the tough times, and I'm like, wow, I understand what you mean now. Like it can ruin it. It can ruin your family,
very
like the
easily,
dynamics. It can, and we've had a lot of ups and downs. We're able to make it through, but like it's not a easy thing to do to start a business with your family.
When they were living with you, did you give them a curfew and rules?
It was a little weird. I started. Well,
everybody, shut your mouth. I need to go to bed.
Right? Yeah. I started.
Don't make me come down there.
I actually started seeing a girl, and then I'm like, you guys got to go. That's good.
That's funny. That's what I would do, just as a joke. It's like, oh, the curfew's at 10, lights out at.
Right. You guys cook on these nights?
Yeah.
I know.
Every day that ends in Y.
The family dynamic is a huge thing. I know Zach does a lot. His mom and dad are a huge part of his life.
Yep.
And, my parents are a huge part of everything I do with cattle, and everything. I talk about. We bullshit all the time with our family businesses, and Dad always offers to triple our pay. It's always zero, no matter what it is. So it's always good. But it's always tough. But it's everybody does it, and it's tough. But it's also really rewarding when you succeed, because you get to share that with your family
for sure.
So I think
some of the fights can get pretty bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's tough.
Some real ugly moments.
Because from what I've seen, you almost get more angry with family, or like you maybe take more stabs.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
you're more comfortable taking
more comfortable,
jabs.
but you also have a whole history together. So like you could, if you wanted to, you could bring up something from 20 years ago. And be like, you didn't love me when I was 5. Whatever.
Well, and once you start getting employees too, like you can't have those outbursts. Like you
can't let people see
right.
it. Yeah.
You can't let them see that side of the family interaction, and the stuff that you. It's just embarrassing. You don't want people to see that, so like you have to start, talking, having like, hey, if we're gonna have a conversation, let's go to my office. Like let's talk about this. So let's try to be normal. But we look at like every person that works for Fieldwise, I look at as family.
Right.
Like that's just like the culture that we've developed.
That's good.
And our dealers, it's like even our customers. A lot of customers that are out there that are listening. I mean, it's. Those individuals, those people are what made Fieldwise what it is today, and that's something that I'll appreciate forever. Yep. And that's gotten me where I'm at today. And I've developed relationships with customers. It's not just I'm selling a product. Like I know these people,
right?
And I'm friends with these people, and I'm friends with our dealers. I know these people. We've met, we've laughed, we've good and bad, everything. It's like we've learned from each other. Business is about relationships, and if you don't have that connection with your clientele or your customers or your suppliers or anything, like you're going through the motions, and when things go bad, it goes really bad. Like if you have a relationship with someone and things go bad, like you can at least know that you have that type of conversation. Like if you're just a guy that's like, hey, you're gonna pay your bill, it's like. It's and that's one thing I've wanted from day one. I'm not perfect. No one at Fieldwise is perfect. We're going to have our bad days and our good days, and we're going to have people that get mad at us and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, that's one thing I've worked on over the years and really struggled with early on was like my emotions. You got to take your emotions out of it.
Yep.
Anything business, if you lead with your emotions, it's going to be a nightmare. Like it's going to be just a shouting match where both of you are going to regret it when it's all said and done. So like take the emotions out of it. Have a conversation. It is. It's super extremely tough.
I'm an emotional person and I have a hard time. I struggle with that a lot. I think you can also, like you talk about, just, calmer heads prevail and stuff like that. I think you can tell a lot about a person. Nobody's perfect, but if you just admit, hey, I fucked up. Let's make it right. Yeah. Whatever I got to do it. Yeah, I messed this up. If I hear somebody just constantly coming up with excuses, then I don't really respect you as a person at that point. Like just say, hey, this is what it is. It was what I'm going through, and let's go. Let's figure it out. Let's get better from here.
One thing I've learned over the years, answer your damn phone.
Yep.
No matter what. If you're super busy and you just know you can't get to that guy and he's on you, it's like, just tell him. Answer it. Because if you don't answer his phone call and he keeps on calling, like he's going to get pissed. Like you're saying, that's going to get to the point of no return.
Yep.
Yeah. So like answer your calls and just be straight up with people. Like, hey, I said I was going to get out there. Things came up. Shit happens. Like,
we're going to get there when we get there.
That goes back to what you're saying about transparency. And I said that's so important. That's how you build the relationships too. Just being transparent. If you're lying, or if you're doing something shady, they're not. They're going to find out eventually. So I like that. I did hear that there may have been an acquisition of Fieldwise recently. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So Lindsay Corporation. So like what I mentioned earlier about going full circle, my dad worked for Lindsay and Zematic dealers all the way back. And, it's funny with Zematic because, we've always looked at Zematic as like one of our biggest competition. And it's because they have a good product and, they have good culture. They have, they kind of like had a lot of synergies as far as, who we are as a company, and we could just relate to them. And we're both super aggressive. We both have, focus on, what it takes to be successful. And, so over the years, the Zematic dealers that are scattered about, we're always battling with them on sales and, just like, and I never would have really imagined like it would have came to this with, as far as them acquiring us, but now that I look at it, after the acquisition, post acquisition, it makes sense because, they saw who we are as a brand. Obviously, Zematic's got a great product in FieldNet, and their customers are happy, and they've got a good team, good leadership, and but their Zematic dealers are only selling a product to Zematic, their customers. Like, they're not selling to.
Because you sell to all the pivots, right? No matter what pivot.
Brand agnostic. Yeah. I mean, that's the approach we took early on. X pivot. Brand X pivot doesn't matter. Like, Zematic dealers have their customers. They're not tapping into a lot of the markets that we're tapping into. We're selling to independents. We're selling to Pierce. We're selling to TL. We're selling to Ranky. We're selling. We've got relationships with dealers. That are beyond what Zematic can reach. So, like, they saw the advantage of
they
our brand,
an opportunity.
Yeah. They saw a way to to increase their market in the sector, and so it was a good decision on their part. And we've been so it was back in July when we were acquired. So, like, the Lindsay team, the Lindsay family has been great to work with. It's been better for our employees. Better benefits, better everything. So it's the support, the resources, being able to lean on people. I'm not an expert with everything. I don't know everything. So it's like, I can lean on some people here and there if I need to. And just overall support that they give you. And, it was, could we have ran it out and kept Fieldwise, our family company for another however many years? Sure, probably. But you get that to that growth state, that point where it's like, hey, man, like, I got to make a decision. Like, we really got to pump a lot more money into this. We got to hire more people. We got to take it to the next level. And, having someone there like Lindsay to assist that's already been through that, just made it a lot easier.
Keeping the name and everything.
Yep. So Zematic dealers can't sell Fieldwise. We can't sell FieldNet. Like, it's completely separate.
Good.
So pretty much business as usual. So we'll continue building our dealer network and doing what we're doing, and combined as a family, as one unit, we're going to work together and try to just lead this industry with, the technology that we offer our customers.
Does it feel nice to have maybe that backing now, that maybe it's not as slippery of a slope if something goes wrong, or that it's not just falling on you guys now?
I think people got to understand that, the days of buying a product that's associated with like for example, with the telemetry side of things, like, the days of having, only being able to buy telemetry that's offered by the OEM or the pivot brand, that's over. Like, people want choices. They want to have a choice in the matter. There's going to be guys that have Valley machines that want to put Fieldwise on. They want to, Valley machines that want to put FieldNet on. There's guys that have Zematics that want to put Fieldwise. There's not just one guy that's farming all Zematics or, all Valleys or all Rankies. Like, they're renting ground. They're picking up this and that. Like, it's all over the board, So it's like, let them choose what they want. Let them make their own decisions. Don't try to force things upon them. And, I think people should have, be able to make that decision without being penalized and punished by their service provider or whatever. Like, they need to be able to have the flexibility of going with whatever solution that they want.
I think that's great. Did you see that as like a chapter closing though? Was it did it kind of hurt you a little bit?
It's like watching I don't have kids, but it'd be like watching your kid go off to school or something, or get married, or leave the house for the first time. I don't know. It's a little bittersweet. Yeah.
Kind of a pride thing too. Like, we built this and they wanted it. It was good enough to where they wanted to take it over.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's your baby. You don't want to let it go, but it's like, the fact that a major corporation like Lindsay would even consider doing that, like, that gives you a little bit of a boost.
It's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
That's how I would see it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm assuming they reached out to you guys.
Yeah. I
don't know how much you can talk about.
But I mean, prior, there's been, like, we've always gotten along with the team there, and
right, with your dad's relationship, probably.
Oh yeah, he's known everyone there, and like, we'd go to Husker Harvest Days and different shows throughout the country, and talk to these guys, and like, it was never a relationship where like it was a negative, like, can't stand you, I don't want to talk to you, like, hatred, like, type of thing. It was like, respect. You know, we respect you, you respect me, and we understand we're competition, but like we have that level of respect. That's, you know, and I think that's important, because I hate like running into some people in this industry where it's like they won't even talk to you because you're their competition. It's like, dude, come on.
That's not how it's supposed to work.
So, and the ag industry, I see, like, there's a few of those pockets, but I mean, I've grown up. My dad was a cattle equipment, livestock equipment salesman or manufacturer basically my entire life. And so I went to some of these shows with him. He went to all and the farm show thing is kind of dying, but that used to be a real thing. And these guys were competitors. They'd compete the entire trade show, but they'd go to dinner together, they'd drink together, have drinks together, have dinner together, have camaraderie before and after the show. And I grew up with some of my dad's best friends were his competitors his whole life. We're like, one guy was a Valley salesman, called him Uncle John. I mean, he wasn't my uncle, but he was one of my dad's best friends. And like, he just treated us kids like his nephews, you know, us three boys. And that's how I enjoyed that type of stuff. Yeah, we're going to compete. I guarantee you during the show, we're going to compete, and I'm going to try to sell my product over your product. But we all want to succeed. We're all trying to do better. So,
you know, sell your product based off of what you
like
have. What you have, not trying to badmouth or you know, that's the one thing I really like, just really aggravates me, is when I see people like, oh, you know, this guy does this or that. I'm like, it's just not true, you know. And it's like, sell your product based off the merits of your product, and don't try to misinform people and try to steer them a direction based off of, like, you know, your emotions. You know, like, just be straight up and what your product compete with the other product, and what the guy to make the decision. Like, I think everyone should be able to agree that, like, the consumer is the person that we should be looking at the most here. Like, what's best for the individual that's looking at buying this particular product. And
correct.
I know, like I said earlier, like, you sleep better at night knowing like you didn't go into that situation like misinforming people and you know, saying you're going to get something that you're not actually going to get, because that'll end up catching up. Like, karma's real,
bitch.
you know. Yeah.
And going back to the competition thing, some of the best ideas come out of some of those dinners you were talking about, or you know, having that camaraderie between competitors. Sometimes that's how innovation happens too.
Yeah, for sure. So,
well, this guy's got this, but it's not quite there yet. This guy's got this, not quite there. You can tweak this, you can tweak that. And this is, it's really handy, you know, that this is out of my way. This is here. This is, and that's crazy, that stuff. I mean, it really is a thing. I mean, it is, I grew up in it, so I saw that farm show aspect my whole life. So it is something that, you know, you don't think that that's, you know, competitors would be like that until you're around it, really.
There's one thing about, like, the ag industry. Like, I think it takes a toll on guys over the years. Like, I think you get once you've been in it long enough, like, you just, like, I don't want to say like you get a negative type of personality or whatever, but like, I guess a better way to say it is, like, when you're in the service industry, I don't care if it's ag or if you're a waiter or food industry, like, dealing with people is difficult, and you're going to have individuals. I'm sure you see it. Like, I was
in the service industry. I've been in the insurance. I've been in sales my whole life.
Yeah, man.
In some way, shape, or form.
So, like, you just understand, like, there's people that are going to rub you the wrong way, and there's more good people than those type of individuals, but those seem to want to, like, resonate with you more. You know, like those 2 or 3 conversations that people come in, just like, I had a guy when I went to, like, it was Wendy's here, and one time we were doing our open house, and I went in there and ordered some food, and he was sitting there. I'm like, hey, you know, what's on? He's like, he just laid it into me, like, in front of all the people there. It was like, I'm like, wow, you know, there's a right time and a right place to have this conversation. Like, there's those type of people
here.
You know, and you know, like you said, I'm doing the best I can. Like, so it's just situations like that where, you know, those type of people can kind of over the years kind of take a toll on you. But overall,
and even good people have bad days.
Sure.
I mean, it happens. You just catch somebody on the wrong time.
Yeah.
Just kind of let it roll. I mean, at times you got to kind of just, I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'll be
Have you found a way to kind of deal with some of that? Like,
listen, just listen, let people, let them vent, let them say what they got to say. And more times than not, they'll probably call you back the next day, like, hey man, I had a bad day.
Right.
You know,
I guess, I mean, like for your own mental health, you know, like how you said it can take a toll on you. How do you, I know I see that. we can all say that.
yeah.
It's, you know,
Yeah. I mean,
because I always say you can try to kind of forget about it, but I'm one of those. It always stays in the back of my head.
You know, the next time that guy, you always kind of think about it. It's always in the back of your mind whenever that type of thing happens. But try to take the high road. Try to be a better person. You know, lead by example, and just try to put it aside. Let bygones be bygones. You know?
What I always like to do is prove, like, you know, something in a good way. And then show them, like, no, here, you know, we can do this way, or whatever the situation was, or whatever it is.
What can be frustrating is like the finger pointing, like, you know, this what we run into a lot is like on pivots is like, you know, your monitor shut this pivot off or did this or that. It's like, okay, you know, and it's usually the service technician that's out there trying to fix the pivot. That's like, you know, one thing I've realized over the years is, you know, when it comes to pivots. Early on when I didn't know everything. I was just working with my dad to make some money, and I was, you know, every pivot's got its own like color scheme as far as their wiring and stuff like that. So I was like, had my little book, you know, I was writing stuff down, like this color is this and all this stuff. And when we got into Fieldwise, it's like, man, there's got to be a better way. And it just hit me like, what is one thing, or what do all pivots have in common? It's just functionality.
Yeah.
You know, stop trying to memorize what colors do. Try to just understand how things work.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people out there working on pivots today that don't truly understand it. They just understand whatever color or whatever, you know, thing that they're working on. And so
that's not even just in pivots. That's kind of in everything.
We talk about everybody tries to go by the book.
Yeah.
Doctors, but we talked about something the other day. It wasn't doctors. It was
I can't remember.
Mechanics.
Oh yeah.
Just
there's no diagnosis. It's just
no
whatever
diagnosis.
the computer
Just, the book
tells me.
says this. We're going to go this route.
Yeah,
like I can't. You got to understand what's going on.
Yeah. So if they get stumped, they're out there and they're like, "Oh, there's a Fieldwise on the end. It's got to be the Fieldwise." And they unhook it, and you know, it's like, okay. Then we go out there, we reinstall it. Well, it's back and forth. It's like, well, the customer is not benefiting from that. Like, let's just figure out what the problem is. Yeah. You know, I wish there'd be more communication, but. There's just a lot of people that won't make that call. There's, you know, unfortunately, you know, you get into those situations. That's more frustrating than anything.
Right.
Yeah, because then you're also catching it from your customer on the farmer side of it, because he's going to say his service tech said this is the issue, and then you're the bad guy.
You guys are probably more than willing to work with anybody, right?
I want to save trips. I don't want him to go out there. We don't want to go out there and bill for a service call that the guy that's out there originally doesn't want to have to bill for something that he can't fix. I think we ultimately have the same like goal in mind as far as getting that guy going again and getting that system running. But it's like, you know, what's an easier route to take? Oh, just blame it on someone else and move on to the next service call. It's like that doesn't help anything. That just prolongs the issue.
I kind of want to step back again. I keep thinking of questions after we get past something. How did you guys go about getting your international reach? Like, did you have to travel to those places, or how did you guys kind of get that going?
We ran into a company early on. How we even got introduced to them. I think they found us or whatever, and they were international like parts sales. ICI was the name of the company. International Components. ICI, International Components, Irrigation Components International, or something like that. Anyway, they opened up some doors in Australia with some guys. And you know, when you're in those early stages of growth, like IPs, like, you know, we value our IP, and we you know, you don't want to get, you know, we were always kind of like
your IP as an intellectual property.
Yeah, and just, you know, you get a guy, you get your product in the wrong hands, they take it to China, they knock it off, next you know, you have your shit running around everywhere. So it's like we're really kind of cautious as far as, you know, who we were working with and if we trust them, and making sure that they're, you know, respectful people that we could trust, and, you know, weren't going to go out and try to replicate our products. And so, you know, the guys out in Australia that we met early on was like, you know, we're really kind of taking baby steps, you know, making sure we know these people before we're going to allow them to just,
because that's a long ways away to be watching.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, anyway, we met those guys, and, you know, being some of the best people, you know, those guys are great. We got a distributor out in Australia. We probably got another 15, 20 dealers in New Zealand, Tasmania. that they work with out there, and Canada. We met a lot of good people like through the Pierce channels and different dealers and independents that are up there trying to make a go of things. And but it was like word of mouth. Like pivot OEMs will have like their dealer training, dealer conventions, stuff like that, where they'll bring all their dealers in throughout the country. And like what really allowed us to grow from a dealer perspective is early on, I'd say year 2 or 3 into starting Fieldwise, one of our competitors had a satellite-based product that was not working, and it was super expensive. And basically like the dealers were putting it out there and it wasn't working, and they're just like, hey, we got to like try to repair these relationships with our customers because they're not happy and they spent money on this, and the OEM wasn't necessarily doing the right thing. And so we stepped in, and we kind of repaired a lot of relationships and helped some guys out. And next thing you know, it, like they go to these conventions, they start talking like, you got to go to Fieldwise, got to go to Fieldwise. And next thing we started getting calls, and that was what allowed us to grow, because I went from like doing the production, assembly, everything, to like just focusing on. I didn't have to focus as much on sales. Like we had a dealer network, so we're getting the exposure, getting the numbers up. I didn't have to spend a lot of time on, actually going out and selling. I could just focus on
dealer
building
relationship
product.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we would do some training here and there, and then boom, let them sell it. We manufacture, like we build stuff. I was spending more time like at that point in the process of just punching out units and going out, and we do our own direct sales, because here, Fieldwise here in Norfolk is also a dealer. Like we work direct with customers too, so we still have all these units we need to put on and stuff too. But that allowed us to really increase our numbers as from a production standpoint, from a sales standpoint.
How did you guys handle service in those areas? So if you're selling in Australia, did you guys have to hire service people there, or how'd you guys handle that?
They have their own, so they're pivot. They're basically pivot dealers, Okay. So everyone we work with is a pivot dealer.
So they're So they're already having their established.
They got their own technicians and stuff. Yeah. So that was the advantage. Like more times than not, these individuals would have their own staff and service technicians that had an understanding of electricity and pivots and how they worked and stuff. So like we were just basically
it was an easy training,
just supplying the product.
Yeah.
Training. That's awesome though. Yeah. Tasmania, man.
Ways away.
I was going to be out there. I was actually supposed to go out there a couple weeks ago, and then that was when we had all that snow and like crazy cold temperatures, and flights got canceled and stuff. So I'm going to be heading out there end of next month. But
how long of a flight is that?
So out of Omaha, it sucks because Omaha to like either Denver or Chicago, then the LAX. But from LAX, it's like 20 hours.
Gee,
yeah.
I couldn't do a plane for 20 hours.
No,
I've never done it yet.
You got to at least.
I've never been out of the country.
I haven't either.
Well, I'm 6'7", so
that's what I mean. I couldn't imagine
can't do economy. That's for sure. You got to at least do like
you get one of those
business.
Did you get one of those beds?
No, I can't afford that. But
yeah,
I'll at least do like
I don't remember who
plus.
Somebody I saw was riding in one. I was like, must be rough. Like, I could probably do 20 hours sitting in a bed, like a couch. Yeah. It's basically like a big couch or a small couch. Is what it is.
Oh, the biggest issue with that is the time change. So I would have left on Friday. I would have gotten there, whatever the flight, the amount of time. So 20, closer to 30 hours on an airplane. But then I would have showed up. So I left on Friday. I would have got there on Sunday. And then I would, basically I'd have that week or whatever to just. And a week's really not long enough to even get over the jet lag. And then when I come back, I would have left on a Saturday and got back on it's like you're going back in time or you're going into the future. Right. It's like it just really screws with your head.
That's funny. Is there? I had a bunch of questions for Fieldwise. I got you kind of touched on a lot of them just by talking.
Where did so is the whole family still involved? Did some of you leave, or are you still all? After the acquisition, you're still all there.
All here. Yep, all here. My mom and dad will be retiring at the end of this year, which is good for them. They deserve it. They need to focus on enjoying life. But yeah, my brother-in-law Alex and Brian, sister Alicia, Hannah, my other sister's involved.
So it's all of the kids, all four,
except
5 of you? You had three sisters.
So one of my sisters isn't involved. She's out in Colorado doing the nursing out there, but otherwise everyone else is. Yeah.
So you said Brian came up from Texas. Do they still live down there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So they come up, and they still come up during the summer during the busy time, and they stay with me and all the kids and stuff, which is kind of fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's good.
Do you guys have a dealership down there that he kind of works through down there?
In a sense, yeah.
Or a location or something? Not
so much as far as like technicians and service and stuff. Like we have a lot of other dealers that are like, there's not a lot of pivots down by Houston, but you get up into the panhandle of Texas, there's a lot of ground, like Dalhart, Amarillo, even by Dallas, there's some ground, but yeah, so he's mainly just focused on like more business development stuff down there.
That's and good. Then how hard was it? We talked about the selling off and how it was kind of like you're watching your kid leaving. How difficult was it to make? Was it difficult to make the decision to leave Ewing to come here? Was it ever like, God, we're just leaving where we've been for this long and we're going somewhere else? I understand the benefits of coming here, but was it kind of one of those bittersweet toughness
like
type
leaving
things?
The community type of thing?
Oh yeah, I mean, you feel like when you come, you start a business in that community, all the people in that community are supporting you. You feel like in the back of your mind, like an obligation, like you should try to do something to better the community and stick around. Like there's, it's not like it's an impossible task to make a business grow in a small community. People have done it here in Nebraska even, and we looked at different opportunities to stay in Ewing and like take over the old high school and different things like that, but it just never ended up panning out. But I think ultimately, like the decision that we made to leave was better because it just new facility. We were able to build it the way we wanted and meet all the compliance to develop a product and to meet the standards of the ISO 9000, like just like different humidity controlled rooms and static controlled environments to be able to produce a good product and not quality control type of stuff. So
a lot of people don't realize that too. You have to have static control to be dealing with that many components.
Oh yeah,
like even just building a PC at your house, you have to make sure you're not. You got to make sure you're grounded, otherwise you're going to ruin everything you just bought.
Oh yeah, so like our assembly areas are all you got to wear the smocks, you got to wear the booties on your shoes, you got to strap into grounded tables, grounded everything. So the epoxy floors are all at ESD rated. So we wouldn't have been able to do that in Ewing.
Yeah. Has anybody taken over the high school? No, Anita and I have talked about that a lot. There's been a lot of people trying to figure out what to do with it, and has it done anything yet?
I think the owner of it now has found some people that are renting out some spaces, doing like daycares and different things. So I think they're finding some stuff.
Good. Yeah. That's good to see. I just don't like I heard a bunch of different things and I'm like, well, I can't think of anything at the moment, but it'd be cool to help the community out a little bit. But I just hate seeing big buildings just go.
It's a nice school too. I mean, there's a lot of space and the high school is in good shape. So
some people have been buying those and turning them into houses.
Yeah,
old schools. I don't know if you've seen that at all.
Oh yeah, I think where was that at over in Creighton or somewhere? There's somewhere.
Was it?
The guy someone bought the old brick old elementary school and turned it into a pretty sweet place.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's so much space you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, like that high school has a basketball court, a weight room,
right?
14 showers. It's like holy shit.
That's funny.
So I know you got the fencer reader you were talking about. I've seen bits and pieces. I don't know much about it, but I've seen them at farm shows. They have like stock tank water monitors. Have you guys ever thought about doing something like that?
Yep.
Well,
we got her.
That's
sorry.
But you also do that for like stock tanks for livestock waters.
Yeah.
Like that tank monitor will do the same thing.
Yeah. So that one was originally designed to monitor like the chem tank, when you're fertigating. But a lot of big dairy operations throughout the country use them for just like fresh water.
Yep.
And
that's what I was thinking of.
There was my knowledge. Sorry.
Yeah. We have that working. They work with we have valve controller. Pivot will shut off. Like if the tank monitor's triggering that it needs more water, it'll shut the pivot off and switch the valve, and the direct the water back to the tank, fill up the tank. Once the tank's full, it'll switch it back to the pivot. Pivot takes off, like automated
really?
stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
You guys do. I mean, you really have. It started with pivot monitors, right?
Yep.
And then you found need.
So if your pivot monitor is your is that your top seller, your main deal?
Yeah. Like your flagship.
Yeah.
What's your next biggest deal that you do?
Pumps are probably most prominent, especially out in the Delta region, like Mississippi Delta. Pump water is a big problem. You know, we're pretty fortunate.
It's different here. Like,
we're under the biggest aquifer probably in the whole world. Like, we're in the mecca of irrigated ground here in Nebraska, and we have the luxury of having 900-gallon wells without having to worry about finishing the season. You get you get not too much far. I mean, even in Kansas, western Kansas, you're very limited to the amount of water. You have one pivot that's reliant upon 5 or 10 pumps to just get 500 gallons per minute. Like, it's super expensive. The input, the cost to pumping costs and stuff are just outrageous. And like northern Texas, it's even worse than that. Like, these guys are running their pivots 4%, and like they don't even shut these giant cat engines that are pumping from a crazy depth to hit the water. Like, they don't even shut them off when the pivot breaks down. They just let it sit there and just piss in one spot. And because like just the surge and like just getting the water back up to ground, like it's not even worth shutting it off. So they just let it sit there in one spot until they get out there and fix it and changing the gearbox. Well, they have like drops that just drag on the ground. They just seep. Like, it's a whole different world. So yeah, the pump monitor. We do a lot of bin fan monitors for guys that just want to control their dryers and their fans on their grain bin storage. Moisture probes are pretty big.
So I had a guy tell, is the bin fan monitor, somebody was trying to explain it to me. You can tell hot spots and dry spots, or hot spots and wet spots, or wet spots and dry spots inside the bin itself, or just monitors the fan itself?
With our device, we don't do the probes in the bins.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of like the bin manufacturers have a lot of that stuff. That'll sell that stuff. Like, I'm not a big fan of like doing the James Bond down inside the bin. But yeah, we'll just do basic stuff like just knowing the fan's running, humidity, temperature outside the bin. But we're always looking like, so we have APIs with a lot of companies that are out there. Like, we want, if you work with a company and you're spending money on this service that they're providing you, we want to be able to take that type of data and bring it into our system, because I think like it's important to have, what I've experienced over the years is like, simplicity is huge when it comes to farmers, at least, and most people. It's like for with moisture probes, for example, if someone gets on our website and they can't understand what they're looking at and be able to make a decision within 30 seconds, so you've lost them. Like, you have to have something simple enough for people to make a decision based off of what they're seeing. So, if they're working at this company and this company and this company and all this stuff is good information, like, let's try to develop a solution that can bring all those inputs into one platform to make it more user friendly and to make it easier for the consumer, the grower, the guy that's making decisions to do something with that information.
That's great. Your software side, one software will do every one of your monitors, correct? Like, I can have one program that will have you can have multiple inputs to one program or one user.
Just different firmware, like you said before, right?
Firmware is what kind of drives the hardware as far as like what application, like all those different applications. So it's like, it's just a matter of like putting a different firmware on one hardware set to do different things. But as far as the portal, the front end of it, like what they're seeing when they get on their phone or their computer, I mean, all that's the same. Gotcha. No matter what device type. You might see like a pivot is going to look different on your phone than a pump. Like,
but it's all on the same.
It's on the same platform.
I don't have to have multiple different things going on.
Then
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you have app usage and computer usage.
Yep.
Tablet usage, that type of stuff.
Yep. It's all web based. So I mean, what you see on your phone is exactly what you see on your computer. Same thing with our computer panel controller. When you're out there on the LCD on the interface out there, on the UI out there, what you see out there, the changes you make out there will be reflected on the website, on the port. So it's kind of a seamless.
Gotcha.
Look.
Did Brian develop the app and the web and all that?
Yeah.
It's just nuts.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean,
that cost, and then to have someone else do stuff like that. I mean,
third party, it'd be astronomical to create all that. Just and how they interact with each other. Oh my god. Anita said he was smart, and now I'm learning why.
Yeah, he's I don't. Yeah, it's like when you have someone like that on your team, you feel like you can't fail.
Right.
That's
great. Yeah. Going back to the pivots and showing my knowledge, 2 years ago, I didn't know that the whole country didn't have pivots. Had no idea. Then I learned. I have a couple clients up in South Dakota, and I'm driving up there, and I just never really looked around until I started being around. I'm selling insurance and being around farmers more. I look out into the fields now, and when we're traveling in different states, and I see I just went past how many acres of land, and there's not a single pivot out here. Oh, yeah. So I talked to.
You could go to Grand Island and Hastings. There ain't many pivots.
No, I don't pay. I don't go down there very often.
I mean, there's getting to be more and more, but I mean, that was massive flood irrigation forever.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to say that because I'm sure the average listener they think pivots are everywhere, and it's not the case.
From around here. I mean, there's still a lot of flood out there. We have a product now. It's not on the website yet, but it's called a TBG. It's a traveling big gun or hose reel. So a lot of guys are still pulling the big sprinklers out there and moving the pipes around and stuff. And, just depends on the geography of the area. Like you get down in Georgia, you get into the Pacific Northwest. You get in certain areas where it's not just section type of. It's not sections of ground. It's like it's split up differently in these smaller, tracks and meets and bounds and stuff. So it's like, the traditional, having a center point and having a sprinkler go around it isn't always an option.
Yeah. That's just crazy. Is there anything else that you want to specifically get into with Fieldwise? Because we'll probably transition here in a minute, but I just wanted to make sure you got everything out that you wanted to promote with Fieldwise.
I think we've touched on most of it. Yeah.
I mean, you guys are doing a great job.
Obviously,
appreciate it.
Is there anything you think that we could, or that you'd like to get out to people that don't know much about ag, that you think would be a little informational that you've came about to learn, or that some people you'd assume probably don't know, or maybe not know certain things?
I think it's just don't be afraid of technology, and there's going to be a learning curve. I think people, depending on their upbringing, the older generations have a certain way that they've done things over the years, and I think learning curve. I got to
drive down the country road to check my corn.
And I get guys,
and they do it. Even you still have to do it even with technology a little.
Sure, and boots on the ground. Like one thing, this might be. You might be surprised to hear me say this, but it's like, technology is great, but yet there's a lot of technology. Understanding good technology from like a gimmick is super important, right? In today's age, because there's a lot of things that are out there that are being pushed onto people that, different crop modeling services, virtual this and that. It's like, at the end of the day, I talk to all these people and we try to work together to find the best possible solution to make people's lives as easy as possible and allow them to increase their margins and make more money. But at the end of the day, it requires boots on the ground. It requires ground truth. It requires, some of those
research.
More traditional ways of soil sampling and different things to just truly understand what you're up against. And so, make sure that if you're going to invest in a product that you truly understand and think about it. Like don't just hear someone's sales pitch and get caught up in the glitter and all the fancy shit that they're saying to you and all the stuff that sounds good. Actually do your research and understand what you're getting and what it can actually do for you. Don't just take everything for what it is, and and focus on working with companies that are open, that have an open API and open, that are open to working with other companies that don't just want you to use their stuff. Like, nothing against John Deere or any of those people. It's like, if you're green, you're using green. Like, they want you. Like they're developing products to get you to continue to go down that channel. Like,
right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Greatest thing.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's like, there's a lot of other good products that are out there that offer the same type of,
it's a type of a monopoly is what it is.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. So it's, do your research, understand the product that you're using, understand the people that you're working with. Don't be afraid of technology. I've got guys that come to me all the time like, oh, I can see, 4 of my pivots when I walk outside my front door, and I can, do this and that. Like, they're all close by. It's like, well, understand, like, you're not always by your house. You're not, you got kids, you got to go to ball games. You want to live your life. Like, the convenience of knowing what all your stuff's doing, all your pivots are running, or your pumps or this or that from anywhere. Just the peace of mind is so like valuable. It's, people don't understand that until they start using it, and they're like, wow, how did I even do this before? So,
and like anything, it's a tool. It still requires, everything requires a little bit of input on everything. Like, use it as a tool. Don't use it as a magic wand. Yeah. Is the way I look at it.
Right.
Yeah. You got to take control into your own hands on certain things.
And it's not even so much like the consumer. It's like, some of these agencies that are out there, the NRDs and different, government funded, agencies, what is the purpose? Is it to conserve? Is it to monitor water usage? Is it to just kind of have oversight over people, or is it to actually help them conserve water, or help them be more efficient in what they're doing? Like, we have allow technology to monitor water usage, allow people to be able to control their systems, allow them to spend money on stuff that gives them a return on their investment. Don't just try to push.
Don't just regulate everything.
Regulation and do all this stuff and go with like these old school mechanical type of solutions. When you have technology, people are using it. Allow people to use the technology that they've already invested their money into, and have more of an, work together with people, local businesses like Fieldwise and other people that have these solutions that can help, accomplish the same type of task.
Right. How do you see, like, what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously you want to see farmers prosper.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you're in the business for, right? What message do you have for some of the listeners to help not promote, but, support their local farmer, rancher? How do you feel? What's your thoughts on that?
I guess you got to try to relate to them. It depends on the business, but depends on the product that you're promoting. Just try to understand, when I go to sell a product, I don't just try to push something down their throat. Like, early on when I was selling, I had this like little 20-minute like spiel that I memorized, and I gave it to everyone. And now it's like, I go into that situation and knowing what I have to offer, but I try to understand what they're dealing with on a daily basis. Like, tell me about what you're doing. Listen to people and understand what they're doing and what they go through on a daily basis. Understand their operation, and then try to fit your product into what they're doing to the best of your abilities. Like, don't just try to sell a product. Try to sell a product that they need. Like, don't sell them something they don't need.
Right.
So yeah, I guess to answer your question, just try to understand people more and actually care, like learn about what they're doing.
That's
and
a big one.
I think, if you do that right out the gate, that customer is going to end up being one of your best customers, because they're at the end of the day, they're going to look back at that conversation like, wow, this guy's actually trying to help me,
Right. And I was kind of going to the aspect of like the Norfolk community where every once in a while I see somebody complain, oh, why is that combine going down the road, or why, whatever, I can't get the fuck out of my way type of thing. And it's like, we all need to kind of just slow down a little bit, let the farmer, they're who are providing your food. Yeah. Like, let them be,
just be respectful, calm down, slow down, just don't get crazy.
Support the local farmers market.
Yeah, local farmers markets. I've got all sorts of ideas as far as like ways to source, things that we could do moving forward with, just the produce that all the produce that we're buying from 600, 700, 800 miles away from Mexico and California and Florida and all this. Like, there's so many things we could do here in the Midwest to ensure that all of our grocery stores have fresh, stuff, produce that's locally grown, that has a shelf life that's nutritious, versus buying all this junk that you don't even know where it comes. There's people.
So what are your thoughts on that? What are your, if you can talk about it, I guess. Yeah. Here, we'll just take a quick pause. All right, we're back. We all hour 40. That's my longest time frame of making it without having to pee.
Like a new person.
I know, I do. I just feel great. So getting back into it, you were talking about how to be able to sustain some crops that maybe aren't normally done around here. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah. So way back in the day, before I probably wasn't even born, or I was real young, over in O'Neill, they did this little test plot of like green beans or something, and we can grow like specialty crops here in Nebraska. It's just we don't have the population to put in the processing plants. We don't have, the growing. I mean, that's not even really about the growing season. It's just mainly it comes down to like the population and the workforce.
Yep.
So right now, and this all stems back, like I've got a green thumb. I love growing. I've got a bunch of trees in my house. I got like 14, 15 fruit trees. I got another little Quonset back in Ewing that have a bunch of trees growing in. I've been doing it for like 5-6 years, but it all stemmed from this documentary that I watched called The Need to Grow. And it just talked about like, where our produce is coming from. When you go to the grocery store, and I'm sure you guys have had this happen to you, like you go into the grocery store, like, I got to buy something healthy. I got to try to eat healthy. You go to the produce area and you buy some salad or vegetables or whatever, and you take them home, and if you don't eat them within like 2 or 3 days, it's like you end up throwing half the shit out.
Yep.
And that's because a lot of the stuff that is available to us here in the Midwest is shipped, 700-800 miles away. It's coming from Texas, it's coming from Florida, it's coming from California, Mexico. And in order to pick a product like that, like lettuce or any type of vegetable, tomatoes, there's some tomatoes that are sourced around. They're doing it more here and there, but in order to get it here and have it trucked that far, you have to pick it before it's ripe. When you pick something before it's ripe, like there's no nutritional value to it. Like lettuce, for example, if you let lettuce grow until it's fully ripened, it has like a milky liquid that comes out of it when you pick it. Like it's the antioxidants, it's the good stuff. That's what makes, I'm not saying like lettuce is a super fruit food or anything, but it's like it has some sort of nutritional value to it if you let it ripen.
It's not just water.
It's not water
at the store.
Exactly. So like, that's just one example of like all these different things. And so they have to pick it before it's ripe to get it up here. And they first stop at all the big chains. They stop at the Walmarts, they stop at the Hy-Vees, the Bakers, the Costco's, Sam's, all those places. By the time it gets to like, Hy-Vee's pretty out, and it might be higher on the list, but by the time it gets to the small grocery stores in all these small towns, like it's a lot of times, like the guy that owns the grocery store in Ewing, like there's times where it's bad when it gets there.
I was going to say it's probably already bad.
And so I watched this documentary, and then I also got on YouTube one time. Actually, the YouTube video is what kind of got me thinking about it. There's this guy out in Alliance, Nebraska. He used to work for the post office like 30 years ago, and he put in this greenhouse out there, and they call it the greenhouse in the snow. You can look it up on YouTube. It's a great video. And basically what he does is he just puts in like a 100 by 20 greenhouse, and he uses geothermal. So what he does is has like 8 runs of 8-inch tubing that goes 8 feet down into the ground, and it goes like roughly 300 feet throughout the property and back into the other side of the unit. So then he puts a fan over those tubes, centralizes the air, and just recirculates the ground temperature, the air under the ground at that depth, into the other side of the unit. And on average in Nebraska, the temperature underground is all year is like 53 degrees or something. So in the winter, it's a heating agent, and in the summer, it's a cooling agent. So he does that, and then he has a big galvanized wall, and I think some of his designs as of late are a little more practical, but like, the big reflective wall on one side of it. He has the solar aspect of the greenhouse, all this stuff. It's cost him nothing to heat it, to maintain it. He's growing. I've got pictures on my phone I can show you. He's growing every single thing you could ever, like stuff that's grown in like a jungle. Like he's growing like, and the size of the produce is it's crazy. So I started thinking like, why are we not growing? Why are we not doing that? Like, so I started thinking, so then I watched this documentary, The Need to Grow, and all these different ways of growing, micro farms, this is different stuff, and, really cost-effective ways of growing with not having to own, 160 acres of ground to be able to do it. So I was like, okay, well, why is anyone doing this? Well, so if you look at every irrigated field, 160 acre section, or not section, but 160 acre quarter, all 4 corners of most fields that are around here that are irrigated are doing nothing. Like it's just, it's a cover crop, it's rye, it's whatever. Like, you could take one of these units, or 2 probably, and put in each corner of every irrigated field here in the Midwest, and you could supply produce to the entire Midwest. So it'd be locally sourced from the Midwest. It'd have a longer shelf life. It'd be more nutritious. It would have a better price. I mean, go on and on and on and on. It's like, and I was like, why isn't anyone doing this? it just blows my mind. Even to this day, it's like, I mean, obviously it's easier said than done, but the planting, scheduling out, like having a continuous flow of product going out, like what are you growing? What are you, citrus takes a lot of time, like 5 years to develop a tree to actually get an output on it. I mean, I understand all that. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but it's not going to happen overnight. But like, if someone could pull this off,
right?
It's a 10 times better idea than CRP.
Yeah.
I think CRP is one of the biggest scams the government's ever pulled.
Yeah.
I hate CRP.
I think so. Wolf Farms. You heard of Wolf Farms?
Is that over by Wakefield or?
It's close. It's not too far to Norfolk.
Okay.
They do
Wolf. Okay. Yeah.
They do some of that where they got greenhouses and things, and they do all organic. So they're doing green beans and a whole bunch of different things. And I'm a big proponent of them because they're one of the few around here that are branching out their product a little bit. So that's kind of along the lines of what you're saying, a little bit.
Yeah,
not to the extreme, but yeah.
I mean, and even if you don't take it to a commercial level, like I want to find some ground eventually and just have my own greenhouse and grow my own food. Like I have my backyard, which you'll see here at some point.
Yep.
I got some terrace areas. I grow herbs and I dehydrate my own peppers, make my own spices when I'm grilling. I'm like, it's just like
maybe you'll have to help me get a green thumb. We've tried a garden for years and just couldn't get. We could grow peas. That's about all we could do.
I don't use chemical on it. I'm out there pulling the weeds. Like
we did the same thing. Yeah.
That ground, like around where we live, it's like the worms and all the stuff in the soil. Like there's just so much organic matter and microorganisms and it's alive. Like when I dig up the ground, it's like there's just tons of like grubs and all this stuff. It's like that's the magic. That's if you look at soil that's out in the crop, basically the mentality today is kill everything but the crop that you're growing.
Right.
And
which isn't good.
I'm not going to say commercial ways of farming or whatever. People are making a living doing it, but it's like, I know, like in this documentary, so in the documentary, it's out in Montana. There's a super, super intelligent dude that came up with all this stuff. It's called the GPH. It's a green powerhouse. So what he does is, he takes natural occurrences that happen in nature and he just speeds it up. He takes something that would take 100 years to happen in nature and he does it in a day.
Really?
So it consists of a continuous loop, a connecting loop of things that happen. So one of the things is he calls it the dragon. So he takes waste products like wood or hemp or anything that can burn. And he puts it in this dragon, and he burns it without oxygen. When you burn something without oxygen, it creates straight carbon, like charcoal. So during that process, he has a couple things are happening. He's generating enough heat to produce enough electricity to power 100 houses. He's also creating a byproduct they call biochar, which is the carbon material that they dump out of the can, the chamber. They sell that and they call it biochar. I put some in some of my plants, like my fruit trees and stuff. Basically, if you take 1 square inch of biochar and you would unfold it, it has enough surface area to be equivalent to a football field.
Jeez.
And it's just when I say surface area, it's a place for nutrients and water to be stored in soil that wouldn't have that capability, like sand or something. Right. So it's a soil amendment, and I've put it with plants, and the plants just come alive. You're just like, holy shit! And so they have the biochar that they sell, and they're producing electricity based off the heat that's coming from that, and they're also using that to go back to so it provides heat to they have a big greenhouse, and they have an algae pond in there. The algae is one of the biggest. Algae is amazing. It's an amazing thing. And one of the byproducts of algae is hydrogen. Not hydrogen. Am I thinking about this right? Hydrogen. It's a fuel.
Hydrogen's the fuel. There is hydrogen.
Yeah, it's confusing. So they take the hydrogen and they use the hydrogen to fuel or to run the dragon. So that's a byproduct of the algae. So the hydrogen comes out of the greenhouse, powers the dragon, creates all the heat, creates the biochar. Then the algae liquid itself is a soil amendment. It's like a stimulant that they add to the biochar, and they create this super charged biochar that people put in their crops and stuff. They're growing food at the same time in that facility. So it's just like a continuous loop, you know, of taking a waste product, creating energy that powers the greenhouse, powers houses, creates a biochar byproduct, goes into the facility. It has algae. The algae, you know, fuels the dragon. Like, it's just, you have to look it up. It's just an amazing thing. Self-sustaining type of, you know, natural cycle, you know, things that are happening in nature.
Do you think that could be large scale?
Oh yeah, they're really growing. If you look them up,
maybe we'll save that for, we'll bring it on again when we have the video.
You guys watch the video.
We can show.
We should talk about it next
some
time.
of that kind of stuff.
But,
that'd be cool.
You know, so that's like my idea of like the greenhouse and the Snow Out Alliance is like a small scale version of what they're doing out there in Montana. But like one of these little facilities, one of these GPHs could be put in like one per little small town here and there, and like all these towns could be like getting their own power source. They could be getting their own food. Like
I look at it as like we're spending money.
Like we're already spending money.
If we're giving our tax money away, and this is a thing that I argue all the time. I fucking hate taxes, but if it's spent the right way, it could be all right. This is something that provides something, would actually be a good thing. You know, we're providing good food. We're not spending taxes to buy shit from General Mills or Procter and Gamble and shit like that isn't good for you, and it's gonna do nothing good
processed, for you. All that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what's how do you like? What's your diet? Like, what
do you meat, man? I'm a carnivore.
Carnivore? Do you buy organic? Do you try to? No, it don't matter.
Well, I mean, if
I don't, I like the organic on the vegetable side. I don't hate it as much. I don't like hearing organic on the meat side of it.
Not meat. I didn't mean meat. I meant like other products, like the things you buy. Like
my problem is like the labeling of things. Like when they say is it organic?
Right. So I try to look on the back. I always make sure I look on the back. And I trust HealthWorks down here.
Yeah.
In Norfolk.
Sure.
Here,
but I think in the documentary they talk about like when it says cage-free chicken.
Yeah.
It's like you have to have like one little door on this giant confinement where these chickens can run around like 10 feet.
Yeah.
And outside it's like cage free. 90% of those chickens are like trampling over each other.
I was just more going towards like the process side of it.
Yeah.
I've noticed like when we moved into the new house, I changed my diet completely. We bought all organic. I went eating carnivore, but also anything else I was eating was all organic, and I've probably lost 25 pounds since moving in there.
Yeah.
I don't feel it yet. I've still got a lot more to go.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just crazy. You just take away, you eating some of the same stuff, but changing how it's made.
Oh yeah,
makes a huge difference.
Processed food's not
terrible.
It's not good.
I mean, you can eat it every now and again, but like every day, people are going out to eat and they're going like buying all the shit off the shelf. It's like,
and I still see posts to this day. Oh, it's just cheaper to go out and get whatever.
Is it?
Like, no, fuck, it's not.
Yeah, especially if you have a family. Hell,
right.
We talk about it all the time. Like you can find meat. You can buy bulk pork. You can buy bulk chicken. You can buy bulk beef. You can feed yourself at a decent price. It's expensive up front, but you're feeding yourself for a long period of time. You know, freeze it. They make vacuum sealers.
Got it.
Those are huge. I use the shit out of those things.
I was gonna bring some fucking jerky. I should have. I made a big old batch of jerky.
Now we know where you live. So
yeah, but I go through like, man, if you had some knife skills and like, I buy my own beef from people that I know, like you know, guys that are producers and stuff, and I know where my beef's coming from, which is.
We're a big proponent of that too. I mean, obviously his family ranches.
Yeah.
I buy my beef locally.
Yeah. So and then like I'll usually get like the butts and like I'll break it down myself. Like when I get my beef, I'll say leave the rib roast whole, leave the tenderloin whole. Like, you know, keep the brisket. And like I cut my own steaks. I want it done the way I want it done.
Really?
And so I don't have any problem with that. I like it, and then I'll grind up the rest into hamburger, and it's the best damn hamburger you'll ever have. You know, it's like.
Anytime you're getting like whole animal hamburger,
so good.
It's I don't know. I mean, we've had cows go lame or whatever, and cow you're not gonna get good steaks out of. You're just not. You're not gonna get good roast out of.
Yeah.
But whole cow hamburger, buddy, that's some good hamburger. That's good eating right there.
My buddy's a dairy farmer, and he has those Holsteins go down. Like they'll butcher that up, and it's a different taste.
It's different. But
but
I mean,
those
it's still good.
T-bones are like the size of your plate.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
T-bones on it.
it's so
The
good.
Holsteins are big, and people
Dude.
don't realize how big a Holstein
dude.
is. They're huge
massive.
animals.
Yeah.
Are you big into sous vide at all?
You're like the only person I know that's ever said
You'll
that
have
to
to
me.
come see my.
What do you use? Like a Jewel or what?
I've got I forget. It's the. I forget what brand it is.
Chef something.
Yeah,
There's
I'll
a few
show
of
you.
them.
I'll show you.
Dude, I'm an advocate for sous vide for.
I've got a big
years.
old. It's a tub,
Yep.
and
I
I've
do
got
too.
the vacuum thing. Yeah, it's
We,
pretty sick setup.
It's better than a crock pot.
Oh,
It's way better.
it's like the only way I'll eat a steak now.
Our last, so
I have a
still-
torch. I just torch it when I'm done. I
Yeah.
don't want to go outside. It's too cold.
So we have a like they call it like a caveman. Have you ever heard of a caveman? It's basically what it is. It's a stainless steel contraption. Looks like a pizza oven. Gets to 1,500 degrees with an infrared broiler on top.
Oh, okay.
And that's how we sear our steaks. I tried the torch. I hated the torch. I didn't like it.
You gotta pat
Didn't-
it dry.
It didn't work for me.
I still just do it with on the stove on a cast iron with butter and beef tallow.
Have you ever done it with
Where you get beef
mayonnaise?
tallow?
Healthworks. I'm telling you.
Oh shit!
I'll take you down there.
Yeah, you should check it out.
Have you ever done a mayonnaise here?
Yeah.
Man,
I have.
I like a
Tried it.
mayonnaise.
I,
here.
I like
It's
a
not bad.
mayonnaise, the grilled cheese, the mayonnaise on the outside
Oh yeah, that's
instead
really
of butter.
good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to do prime ribs, or we do prime ribs probably between me and my brother. We throw maybe 4 prime rib dinners a year, and we started with doing on the Traeger or the pellet smoker. We started that way. Then we moved to the oven with the butter rub and all that, and now we haven't done in the last 6 prime ribs we've done them in a sous vide.
Yeah.
120 125 all the way across.
Can't mess it up.
So I did for New Year's. See, if we just would have known what we know now, we could have had so much fun. But we sous vide a pork butt, half of a pork butt. I did one half in the oven and one half in sous vide, and everybody ate the sous vide was gone. It was just I had never done a pork butt in there, and oh my god, it was so good.
the sous vide too, like just it infuses whatever herbs and spices you're putting on. Like it goes along like garlic. Like you don't want to get too crazy with the spices because it just really like
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it enhances it. So
You ever
much.
done ribs in it?
no
I
ribs.
Pork ribs?
I want
Oh
to.
my god.
I want to do everything in there.
That's my favorite.
Cause I got this big, I got a huge, like it's almost like a, what do you call it? Like just a tub.
Yeah. Big
Did I
toad or
show you?
something.
Did I show you my sous vide thing that I made?
You made it?
Oh yeah, I bought it.
I bought mine.
I bought an $18 cooler from Walmart. The big,
Yeah.
like the big one. That's what we cook our prime ribs in.
Yeah.
And we took the lid, cut it out with a Sawzall, and those lids are.
Album with
Oh yeah, you do.
That's what my Snapchat looks like.
I love cooking.
Just
Yeah,
all
see,
meat.
now we just gotta.
Dude,
now
we're
we
gonna-
gotta get the video portion of the podcast. So
We're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
We are.
And then we those coolers are those cheap coolers. The lid is it's a hollow.
Yeah.
Filled it full of great stuff, and just put our sous vide in
Wow.
there. It's
I never
pretty
thought to do
badass.
that. I just bought one.
Yeah,
I should have just done
It was
that.
$18.
Shit.
Saves a little. I'm guessing yours wasn't that.
No. It wasn't too expensive. The sous vide piece itself was kind of expensive, but
Yeah. Like what, $200 or something?
yeah, something like that. And then the vacuum sealer I bought also does infusion. It's not your traditional. It's a pressurized. You have to close the lid. And,
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I wish I would have got one of those. I've got the traditional ones.
Oh my god, it's so good. Anyway, we kind of got off on a tangent
Yeah,
there.
I know.
It's all right.
Do you do you have any other ventures or projects that you're working on that you're willing to discuss with us, or things that you have ideas for? Because obviously you got the Fieldwise. Are you since the acquisition? Are you wanting? Is this what you're wanting to still do, or are you gonna kind of try to?
Yeah, for sure. I think right now the main focus is building the team. Making sure that everyone's bringing in more people, bringing in more technicians. Making a work environment where during the summer and the busy time of the season where we're not working incredibly long hours. So people can enjoy the summer a little more and have a life. That's something that we've really not been able to do in the past. So building the team up, looking for new opportunities. Yeah, I mean, we have in the past when I would get real excited, like when someone would come in and be like, "Hey, man, I want to buy 300 units, and I want to do this and this and this," and I would go to Brian, like, "We got to do this. It's 300 units," and he'd be like, "Well, break it down. Like, how many, basically, like there's the SWOT, or, there's ways of evaluating whether something's worth pursuing or not. And
profitable, I'm assuming. Or,
so we call it a new dealer, or not new dealer request. We do that as well with dealers, but kind of vet dealers in a sense to make sure they're a good fit for being a dealer. But we do the same thing with new product development. So a new product request, basically come up with a form that, people will fill out, and it'll, ask questions like, is there another product on the market that's available right now that does this thing? What does it cost? What's the price range need to be for us? What's the business look like? What's the 5-year outlook? Like, just is this going to be a sustainable type of thing? Are we just going to do the R&D on it? Are we going to do the dev work on it behind the scenes for nothing? If, to sell 200 units or something. So like, and one thing I've learned over the years is there's a lot of time and effort and resources that get put into the back end, into the dev side of things, and so it's really
that's the biggest portion of businesses anymore that involve any kind of tech.
Yeah,
right.
Especially when you're say you're trying to compete with someone, they've already got a manageable product.
Yeah.
What's it going to cost you to get to that
market
point,
penetration? Yeah.
And make it better,
let alone get beyond them. Yeah.
And make it better and make it at probably a better price.
Yeah.
Right.
I do have an idea I want to talk to you about, and I've talked to everyone about this.
On the podcast.
Everyone, I want to talk to you about it. I mean, whatever. I bought the domain names.
Just want to make sure.
I mean, if someone beats me to the punch, sure. I wish them the best. I hope they become billionaires. But
we've only got about 150 listeners to the podcast. So.
Well, I'm all for it. I'm going to put it out there just because I do kind of plan on doing it. If I get to, I get to. If someone gets to it before me, then do it. Go out and do it. I think it's a good idea. Have you ever been in a situation where you're with your family or at a family event or on a holiday, and someone wants to make some cookies, like maybe the wife wants to make some cookies or the kids or something, and you don't have any butter. Like the butter's too cold. You can, it's in the refrigerator. You got to set the butter out. You got to let it come to room temperature. Or you could put the butter in the microwave and they forget about it and it blows up and it fucking makes a big mess. Or the butter's too hot. It comes out like liquid, lava, and the cookies are all flying. Whatever. Butter's it's a thing. It happens.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to spread cold butter on toast and it just rips the whole toast apart. It's just a terrible, like, as soon as you pull it out of there, like, shit's I'm not waiting. The toast is hot. It's going to get cold. You try to, and it just rips it all to shit. So I had that same, it's happened all multiple times throughout my life. So just recently, at like Thanksgiving, that came up, and me and my brother-in-law were sitting there and like, man, there's got to be a better way. Imagine a device that you can take a stick of butter, put it in, and it'll dispense the perfect temperature butter real time.
That'd be
at any time.
That'd be pretty cool.
Call it a butter gun.
Right, butter gun, like a cock gun, but a butter gun.
Yeah, it's like exactly. You load it up, and we'll start with just the butter gun. Would be like a cock gun, like a manual version of it, and then have a heated extruder on it, heated nozzle. It'll heat the butter up, be perfect. You just extrude whatever.
It'd be perfect for corn on the cob too.
You got different nozzles.
You might put the crappy vegetable oil and plastic out of business, and that'd be good for everybody.
That'd be amazing.
Because
you could get a brush attachment for the corn on the cob.
Butter Gun Pro, it's an electric version of it. It's going to have a presets for 1 tablespoon up to 8, whatever a stick of butter is. It's going to have a herb infuser attachment that you can put herbs into the butter as it's dispensing it. Different nozzles for different type, corn on the cob, whatever.
I think you got a good idea right there.
You think that butter gun's going to work?
It works.
I think
everyone I talk to,
I'd buy one right now.
I know, and everyone I talk to is like, whether it's a gag gift or like people that really love butter or use butter, like this would be something I would use.
You're a carnivore
you should crowdfund that.
You should, but
start crowdfunding it now.
But you're a carnivore guy. Like I leave my butter in a butter dish. Like we have
set it out there,
almost 2 sticks of butter out on the counter at all times.
Yeah. We do in our house all the time.
Just started
at least,
but most people don't do that.
No,
but I use it. I go through it so fast; it's never going to go bad.
I think there's a misconception. People think butter goes bad if it's sitting out there.
No, I mean it takes a while. As long as you keep it kind of.
Have you ever had it go bad? Does it like get mold on it or something?
I've never had it go bad.
I've never had it go bad sitting out.
It maybe went bad. I still ate it.
Okay, you don't even know.
I've never seen mold on it.
I've never had butter go bad.
I've had it get hard, but I also buy certain kinds of butter, and so the outside gets a little hard. But
There's just stick and there's spread. There's only two options. And the butter industry is $1 billion industry, and it hasn't changed. Like there's nothing
right.
to help
But
people.
the spread butter is not butter.
No,
Is that what's? Oh, it's not.
Oh, it's vegetable oil.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
Margarine.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's like
No,
margarine,
like
yeah.
can't believe it's not butter.
People don't want to fuck around with that.
there are some spread like Kerrygold. Is it Kerrygold?
I think there's a spreadable butter.
There is, but it's not. It's hard to use. You have to let it sit out for like an hour. You got to be prepared to make toast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just prefer to have my stick of butter,
Yeah.
sit in my little butter thing on the counter.
Right.
Imagine like a little suction cup attachment you put to the side of your refrigerator wall inside the refrigerator.
Gosh,
It's got your sticks and your butter gun. You pull it out, boom, right on your.
I love that. I love that idea.
I love
funny.
it because
It's happening.
nothing makes me madder than you usually have your butter out.
Right.
You forget to get a stick out or have
Right.
forgot to leave a
Right.
stick out.
Yeah.
Just like you're talking about. And
I
you're
always
like,
do
"God
that. We
damn it."
bought this huge like butter dish from I think it was from Target, and I put like 4 sticks in there.
Yeah.
So there's always enough butter.
Have a little attachment you can put like cinnamon sugar in. It'll be like cinnamon
Oh
sugar
my
butter coming
God.
out. I mean, come on.
Dude,
Yeah, that'd be
the
pretty
only
good.
thing I'm thinking of is the cleanup of
that
that.
one. Okay, time out on that.
Dishwasher-
That one to
dishwasher
me,
Dishwasher safe? Okay.
Yeah.
the adding the cinnamon and sugar to the butter is maybe a step too far.
No.
Because how hard is it just to? I
But
just
if it's
like to
already
sprinkle-
infused,
We gotta
No,
go
because
find the
it's not
sugar.
right.
You gotta find the cinnamon. Like,
No, it's not right. I don't.
I don't know.
I don't like that one. I like the other
right.
ones.
That's great. I like that idea. That's a good one.
Well, I might try to do it. I have a couple drawings. I did buy the domain names, buttergun.com. So we'll see.
So
We'll
if
see what
anybody
happens.
beats you to the punch, they at least have to buy the domain.
I'll
from you.
get something out of it.
A lot, probably. That's
Sell the domain.
You gotta have
name.
that. You gotta have that domain.
Yeah.
And you can't.
That's great.
What are you gonna call it? Fucking. I don't know.
Going to that though, I saw a TikTok the other day that was showing an old refrigerator from like the I don't even know what it was, 1960s, and you opened it up, and all of the shelves swung out on a swivel, and there was a butter warmer in the fridge.
In the fridge?
In the fridge, there was a butter warmer. So all the shelves like your normal fridge, all swung out like a lazy Susan almost.
Yeah.
You don't see that now. I was like, that'd be the perfect fridge of all time.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I was
They're ahead of their time.
Well, I think there's a lot of technology from back then that we just don't use nowadays
I
that
think so too.
was very innovative.
Yeah,
But
probably.
yeah, it had a butter warmer in the door.
That's
incredible.
Yeah. Good idea, Bo. I
right.
like that.
All right, I appreciate. Like I said, I brought it up at Anita's birthday the other day, and I was talking to people about it. And like,
I
yeah,
didn't
it'd be
even
great.
talk to you that day.
No,
I just
think
sent Vance over.
yeah, I saw you guys. I saw a group standing up by the bar. That must have been you guys.
Yeah, that was us.
We like to party.
Just a little too much. You ready to get a little political?
Yeah.
Is there anything else, other projects you got besides the butter gun? Buttergun.com.
All I can say is, without, what is the expression? Taking the cat out of the bag or whatever the hell it is. We're going to focus on pivots.
Right.
There's a lot of companies out there focusing on crop health and agronomy and all this other stuff. We're specializing on, pivots and controlling and monitoring pivots and pumps and all, the stuff that we're good at. So, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline to help people, not just know that, the thing's shutting off or, changing pressure or, other stuff like that, but to actually kind of understand more, things that are happening on the actual machine itself from a maintenance diagnostic standpoint. So
you got some cool stuff coming.
yeah, we got some
So
things
like
coming down.
gearboxes and
Different stuff,
type of stuff.
More
Yeah,
that'd be pretty
health-related
badass.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like that. Ready for politics?
I'm ready. I mean, so just to prefer, before you say anything, I just want you to know, I stopped watching the news quite a while ago, just
Like
because
pandemic or like how long ago?
basically since Biden got in office. So I'm under the impression that it's all
Hunky dory.
bought
Everything's
out.
good.
Fox, CNN, it's all shit.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest with
You
you,
should listen to our other podcast because we talk about all that. You can get your news in a good way.
so when it comes to politics, it's and I'm not scared. I'll tell you, my opinion on it. I think that we're it's actually sad because I truly, since Trump came into office, it opened my eyes. I think it opened a lot of people's eyes that, it's sad that I think we've been, I'm under the impression now that we've been lied to about pretty much everything. And
for quite a while.
Stuff that, like history, like a lot of shit that we even learned in school.
Right.
Like we've been lied to about so many things that have happened in the past, and truly like what the United States of America has done, like on all these wars, like all this different stuff. Like it's not good.
Right.
So we can continue off that, but I just want you to know that like I don't really pay attention to a lot of the mainstream media. I do my own research.
A lot of what well, it's good. We like that.
Oh.
All the stuff I'm going to ask you has nothing to do with anything like current. It's just going to be how you feel.
Yeah.
Is all it is.
About not current news, but
not
how
current
you feel
news
currently.
But how you feel currently, yeah. So with an election year coming up, how do you feel about where the state of our country is right now, and do you feel that we are being well represented at the federal and state levels?
It's a lot to take in.
Yep. You can take each question as you want. So we can do the first one. How do you feel that? Like, how do you feel about where the state of our country is right now?
I think we're in a very vulnerable state. I think we're in a unpredictable moment in time where we're on life support. We're from a economical standpoint, I don't even know how we haven't crashed. Like, from the U.S. dollar, I'm guessing it's the petro. The fact that we are the worldwide currency, we are the petrodollar. That's what's keeping us afloat.
For now, I would say for now, because that's ever increasingly changing.
I mean, look at it, man. Inflation. Look at cost of living. Look at everything. Interest rates. It's all terrible. It's just all shit.
Here's what I can tell you: is every conversation that I've had to have this year in my business has been talking about rate increases. And that takes a toll on me because I have to sit down across from every customer and tell them, "Hey, your shit's going up tenfold."
How do you do anything right now? If you're like you bought a house, it's like
very, very, very carefully.
Yeah, I mean it
had to be the right price. We had to be okay with the interest rate, right?
For sure.
But it was a life change that we had to make because of having the daycare at the other house. I just couldn't be there anymore. Daycare had taken up so much of the space that I didn't have. Our family didn't have, like my son didn't have his own room. Like it was like being shared during the day and like all this stuff. And it's like, we just, it had to happen. So, but I can't see how people are just willy-nilly buying houses. Like ours was because we're going to put it in a small daycare over there too. So it's going to be an investment opportunity.
And you had a house,
right?
You're coming from like, if you're just going,
I had a house in this building and things. So, I mean, I had established stuff, but somebody just buying a new house.
Oh yeah, incredibly expensive.
I couldn't imagine.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as where we're sitting at, I think there's a lot of unknown. That's the scariest part about it. Like, I'm guessing here in the next few months, things are going to get a little crazy again. Is it going to be?
What do you think? Like, what are you feeling?
So I want to preface what you just said there. So we're January 31st?
Yes. Tomorrow is February 1st.
So last election year, COVID was March 17th. March 15th or March 17th.
Right.
And George Floyd was after that. To the 3, it was basically 3 weeks after that.
Right.
And that's when shit went crazy. Yeah. We're still 2.5 months away from it's going to happen. Something. Yeah. They're going to do something.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah, I asked one of my buddies the other day about that. I'm like, so I was thinking back, like, when did COVID actually happen? And yeah, it was like March or
it was starting April, in like February.
You saw the videos, like all the people in China, like in their hotels, like, help us.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 15 days to slow the spread was like March 15th or 17th or some shit like that.
So there's going to be an event. I don't know what it is yet. They've always been very good at like telling us in advance, which is crazy. Like if you look at like what Gates has said and like all this different things, there's gonna be another virus. We're already talking about.
We just have to go watch The Simpsons. We have to have somebody go watch The Simpsons and figure out which piece of The Simpsons is gonna be the problem.
So I mean, I would almost put money on it. Like there's gonna be something that's gonna be a distraction. To what extent? I don't know. Will it be like a COVID? I don't know. But something's gonna happen.
Do you have faith that people they're more aware now?
For sure, I think
aware enough or not enough.
Do you think enough people are aware?
If you look at Biden anytime he's on television and think that things are okay, you're fucking something's wrong with you. I just like I don't know,
to the
like,
choir here.
Yeah.
You can't find his way off a stage. When he's talking, like
He can't speak.
Can't speak. He it's sad. It truly is sad. I don't think he's
I
even.
wouldn't want my grandparents to go through something. My grandpa.
Us three can speak better after 25 beers.
Sometimes. I mean, I might be a little
think
bit.
I can still understand you.
Nikki Haley's a Trojan horse. Like they're trying different tactics to like try to throw Trump off, and Trump's just whooping ass, and that's just what happens. So when it comes down to it, is like they're gonna have to have some sort of event to keep their narrative going and stuff. So I don't know what that is gonna be.
They tried with taking him off the ballot.
Oh yeah, exactly. Shit like that. I mean, come on, that's like against the Constitution, man.
Right.
Like.
That's tough. It's I just keep that's what keeps going through my mind pretty much this entire month is like we're still 3 months away from when shit popped off the last election cycle.
Yeah.
And we were coming off of 3 great years. The last election cycle, those are the 3 best years of my entire life. Yeah. Economically, I mean
I would agree.
I maybe wasn't making as much money then as I am now, but I was definitely in a better position.
But your money was going further.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think everyone should ask himself a question. Everyone should ask himself, like, do you have more money in your bank account now or 4 years ago?
Or feel like you can buy more.
Or feel like you can
even
buy
if you
more.
don't, even if you have more money, you may have more money in your bank account now, but are you more comfortable?
I can't tell
I'm
you
not.
4 years ago, it wouldn't have taken all the hoops I had to jump through to go buy that house that it took to buy it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that took a lot of, it was like 3 or 4 months of just planning and trying to figure it all out. Because of the economy, because of how interest rates are, and it's just nuts.
Yep.
What do you think about the financial situation? I mean, you guys dabble in crypto at all or anything?
I got a very, very, very minute amount in crypto, but
I mean,
I was late to the party.
I've been early though, man. It's super.
But I was late to like the Bitcoin thing.
Right.
I've got a little bit of Bitcoin. It's not anything significant.
I've kind of been in and out of it. I've jumped
bought
in
some
and out
Doge.
of it. I've never lost any on it.
Do you think that the future is going to be a digital currency type of situation? Or
I hope not.
I think
Unless
it's going that way.
decentralized.
Well, I think it's going that way, but I don't want it to, like, as long as it's decentralized. Yeah.
I don't want it to go digitally because I just don't have faith that our politicians will keep the government out of it.
I don't even know. I don't always like having all of our money in a bank.
Do you feel comfortable with your money in a bank?
Your money in a bank
Not
is
at all.
it's basically digital.
Yeah.
I mean, a bank, it's all modern monetary theory.
Luckily, most of mine is built up in it's in property.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, like you have a bunch of money sitting in a bank account. You go, you put it in there. You go in there a week later and say, "I want to take a chunk of it out." They're not going to have it.
No,
they don't have it. It's fractional reserve banking. They don't have the money there. Like everybody thinks that the money's in the bank.
For you
money's not
listeners,
there.
understanding the bank only has to have a percentage
of whatever they
have in assets there.
Yeah.
If you try to go take out a certain amount of money, they're not going to be able to do it. They have to do it within, I think it's 5 business days or 7 business
you got to
days.
give them some time.
But you have to give them time, yeah. So like if the banking industry goes down,
that's what happened with the. What was the Silicon Valley Bank?
Yeah.
Was a run on the banks.
Yeah,
and it collapsed them because everybody came to try.
That's all it takes, man. It takes one person on Facebook saying they can't get toilet paper, and boom, no more toilet paper.
And also just remember, the banks are they're using your money and investing it. Insurance companies are doing the same thing.
Oh yeah,
it's just a big pool of money, and they invest it and they get their return, and that's how they are profitable.
Yep.
That's
plain and simple.
That's like the whole thing with me. It's like what do you feel comfortable with? Like what you want a diversified portfolio. You want to have some money in some stocks or whatever. You want to have some you want to do some CDs. You want to have some metals. You want to invest in this and that. Like what are you going to do? Like have a little bit of crypto. I don't feel safe having all my eggs in one basket. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, never in one basket.
And have some investment properties. I think that's a good thing. Passive
is
income.
A good thing. I just always think even if the property economy goes down, having it is better than not, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
because it'll always come back. It always has.
Yeah,
guns.
Oh yeah, I got a few of those.
Guns that got lost in boating accidents.
Those
are the best.
I bought a how much I should say.
Well, now I'm glad you're my neighbor. I don't own any weapons, so I'll be coming to your house if shit goes down.
You'll
Bringing the whole
protected.
family over.
I'll be the protector.
I'll bring my dog.
Yeah, I can.
He'll
The
protect
whole
us.
community will be all right.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Do you feel that we are being? Let's not go to the federal level. We kind of already talked about the federal level. How do you feel like at the state level we're being well represented? Like, or even the city level? How do you feel about all that? What are your thoughts?
Not really connected with it, to be honest with you, but just my experience like in the ag side of things, I feel like a lot of the public hearings and a lot of the things they put on are a way for them to make people think that their voice is being heard, but yet the decisions are already being made behind the scenes. Like,
Yeah, they don't do anything about it.
No.
like it's like, oh, what do you guys think about this? You know, let's hear what you have to say, and then they're going to make whatever decision they want to make.
Well, it's probably already made before they even come.
Before they go into it. But
Yeah.
you know, it's like Norfolk, for example. I think they're doing some cool things. Like they're trying. Like the downtown scene's really improving. I can't sit here and just knock them. Like I think they're making improvements. But from a government standpoint, I don't know how much. I don't, like I said, I don't get into the political side of it, like on a local level. To be honest with you, so I couldn't really.
Do you have any, not knocks, but do you have any critiques of what's going on in Norfolk? We have had at least one other person come on here and give their critiques of downtown. In a not a negative light, but just honest critiques.
I think it's tough for businesses because just to find good help. I think that's a big problem. Everyone's battling, trying to find good help. One thing I have noticed, and just from a business standpoint, I'm not going to say any business in particular, but I think my personal opinion is if you're going to run a restaurant, my dream someday is to open up a restaurant. That's what I like to cook.
I feel like that's I'm the same way because we both like to cook. You like to cook.
I go into these restaurants. They're coming up these pizza places and all these different things, and I don't see the managers there. I don't see. I see a lot of corners being cut. I see a lot of things like that. I feel like, if you want to make it successful, you got to be there. Like as a manager, the guy that owns the place, like you got to be there. You got to be in the trenches.
Visible.
You got to be supporting your staff. I want to see you there. I want to see you there every day. I want to see you there. I want to see you talking to your customers, working on ways, talking about ways to improve your business and to get more people coming in the door. I guess I haven't had that experience.
Right.
There's a few of them in town that you'd be surprised that I've had really good luck with. I see them, the owners or the higher ups there all the time.
Yeah. I don't want to name too many names because I don't want to call some other restaurant out because I named one, but there are some.
I'm sure there are, and I'm not. I don't go out a lot. Like
Right.
I eat sushi. Like I love Sakura.
Right.
Jackie's a shit. Like got good service, and I've been to the district's good for all these 411. Some of these new pizza joints. The Divots downtown. Some of these new places are they're I think they're on the right track.
Saying the owners do or the proprietors got to be there to
like some of these
see what the
I'm sure they're
community
there
wants.
maybe in the mornings or at certain times of the day, but it's like I just feel like if you're and maybe if you're successful enough, you probably don't have to be there like in the during the prime bad rush or whatever. You're going to build up a staff, and if you have a good staff, but like I feel like when I'm in a restaurant and the staff isn't, and I see the staff is struggling to keep up, like where's the manager at?
Yeah.
Like
I actually agree with you on there. If I owned a restaurant, I would make sure I'm there during the busiest time just to make sure the service is going well.
I know how you guys were when you were back at Big Red.
Right.
I mean, you guys
So
were absolutely visible.
Was assistant manager at Big Red for 5 years when they first opened. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just telling. That's all I'm getting at. Kind of.
We were always visible. We were always, we it was a team thing there. So like I was filling refills. I was taking orders when all that kind of stuff.
So I have a buddy that owns a restaurant and back home, and always talk to him about like the whole greenhouse thing and my idea of like a restaurant. is having like a greenhouse or attached to it or something, where you're getting that locally sourced farmers market type of, seasonal type of menu.
Yeah.
Your experience with Big Red, do you feel like the food is high quality? Like, do you feel like the hamburgers are,
I will give my honest opinion.
Yeah.
Now that I've been out of there for so long, no, it's all, Danny talked about this he's the owner of 411. And some things have to come from places like Cisco and things because it can't, like, some of the regulations that the government puts on things, you can't get local source stuff without going through a bunch of hoops. He does a good job there, but no, I can tell you right now, I'm not saying it's bad quality, but it's not going to be great quality. And, people used to come in and say, man, I loved Burger Mania on Wednesdays. And
I always ordered mine rare or medium rare.
And if you don't do that, they were sitting in au jus for most of the day.
Yeah.
I hate saying that, but I like being honest on this podcast. So it's just true.
He always told me, he's like, why would I do that? Because you know what? People want the cheese balls. They want the fried stuff. He's like, that's what they want. And that's what I'm going to give them. Mm-hmm. He's like, why would I change it? I was like, well, I guess you got a point.
To an extent. Yeah. There are some people that want things different. But.
Yeah. At what point, like, I think it comes down to population. Like, if you want to have that fresh seasonal one-sided menu with like 12 main type of, you're depending on your
choices,
like, you just have your, like, I always had like a good idea for a restaurant would be like having a menu of like one of the best, items from like all the other successful restaurants that are out there. So like you have your like this burger that everyone like the In-N-Out burger, like you have all these different things, this chicken sandwich, a signature chicken sandwich, like a Popeye's chicken.
Through all
everyone loves these certain things. So you put it all in one menu and you create like a one-sided menu with just like fresh, and then you have a couple seasonal items. Like, I don't want a freezer full of frozen shit. I don't want the overhead to deal with, I don't
fresh.
I want fresh. And at what point, like, does it become like you have to have a certain population, I think, to make that work?
It's not just that, but having you're right, but it's also keeping your menu small.
Yeah.
I always love a place, like a local place when I go to, not just in Norfolk, but anywhere, and I see the menu small. I'm like, I know this place is going to be at least decent.
Yeah.
Because that means they're trying to perfect the things that are on the menu.
Yeah.
I think Norfolk should try to like incorporate some sort of Northeast, try to bring in some culinary type of program that they can offer to people to try to bring more talent to this area.
I agree with you. I also think that the state government needs to make it a little easier to get local. We have the stuff here.
Well, he meant like for the college to.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I just meant make it easier for the restaurants that are even open. So we can bring the chefs here, but they still can't get the product.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
We did have Danny on for a podcast, and he was talking about that.
Yeah, so tell me about that. Like, what do they have? I understand like USDA and all this stuff, but it's like,
well, he was limited. So like he was talking about like seafoods and stuff. Like he can only get it at certain times. So he's got to base his menu off of when he can get certain stuff.
Yeah.
Because and then it's to keep the freshness and that type of stuff. So I mean that is kind of cool. But he said he did complain that there's times it's difficult to get certain things that he wants.
And you can't just stock up on it and hope people come
because
in.
Then it'll go bad.
Yeah. Well, then you're freezing it, and then it gets,
and then there's no
what
point
frozen shrimp's like buying it from the store. It's not good.
Oh, yeah.
And so
from India.
And then people complain about it, but like he said, is like, there's nothing I can do here. Right. I'm in the middle of the country. I'm getting I know
he tries to get most of his beef sourced here.
Yeah.
Things like that. So... But even that stuff, Andrew McCarthy at District also talked to us. Like he has local beef producers trying to supply him, but he's like, okay, can you give me X amount of beef per week or whatever it was or month? And they can't
do it.
They can't do it. So,
gosh, you'd think that would be a simple thing to figure out. Like,
because you only want one supplier. You don't want to be dealing with if one supplier can do it. Yeah,
volume. Yeah,
the biggest problem on the beef side is. We have all kinds of beef around us. We don't have the processing, and it's so regulated other than the 5 main packing plants that it's difficult to fight with.
Yeah, you just can't compete with their prices, too. Like, that's another thing. Like
they set the market.
Getting it off the truck is a hell of a lot more cost-effective, but, yeah, quality over quantity, I guess. That's the biggest thing.
Yep. So it's feasible, but
And even like, I mean, you can take some of the quality. A good chef can make good food.
Yeah.
I mean, it all it takes is a good skill, like you talked about, good culinary.
You can
chef.
take that 80-20 chuck at the Walmart and turn it into a good
It can-
burger.
well,
if
you
we
want.
can do it at home,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like if us three can make some good shit at home, I mean, it can be done around here.
Yeah. You think there's a good barbecue? Like I know Uncle
Gerald smoking stands.
Uncle Gerald
is good. I mean,
smoking
there's
stands is
smoking
really good.
stands.
There's that. It's a truck that was sitting out at the hospital one day when I was up there for something. It was really good too. I can't remember what it's called though.
I didn't know there was a barbecue truck.
Yeah.
There's some pretty good taco trucks that are around here too.
Don't even get me started
we
on
got some
taco
really good
trucks.
ones.
Oh yeah.
They're so good.
I love.
That's like the only
Dude,
thing.
that's
I don't eat
tacos.
out much, like fast food or nothing like that. But taco trucks, man.
Tacos, pizza are my like top of the food pyramid.
That's
for me.
yours.
Yeah, dude. Barbecue,
Pizza.
grilling.
Every once in a while, pizza will get up there, but I go through like spurts with loving pizza. But tacos.
It's just
oh
tough
my
to
God.
get barbecue better than you can make at home, though.
I know.
And
We haven't-
that's no knock against any barbecue place in town.
To be honest with you, like
Mostly because it's too expensive to cook and sell too.
right?
this isn't just for Norfolk. I would rather cook a steak at my house
Oh, agreed.
100% of the time.
Oh, I do it all the time.
The only time I'll ever order steak off the menu stuff, I'm actually going to like a steakhouse, like a legit
Right.
steakhouse.
I
like
still
a
don't even-
And
Texas
you're still probably
Roadhouse or something.
disappointed,
Yeah, and I'm still like, oh, I could cook something better at my house.
Yeah.
It's like, and it costs less, you know.
right?
I get seafood. We went to the National Western Stock Show at the beginning of January. Our family did, and we went to Ocean Prime, which is a high-end steakhouse, seafood house. Every single person in there got seafood of some sort. Like,
Right.
but I mean, granted, we'd spent the entire week eating New York strip sandwiches in the yard, so that me and my brother cooked for everybody. So we were staked out, but. I don't ever go. I've been to quite a few high end steakhouses and I've never gotten a steak. Give me whatever seafood you have. I'm gonna pick something. And I'm gonna go that way because I can make my own steak.
Yeah.
We raise our own prime beef. I'm good with it.
You get prime beef? I'm going to have to talk to you. Get some prime. You guys like spicy foods?
Yeah, I do a lot of like spicy ramen at my house.
You're going to have to try my gumbo.
I'll have to.
I can make a legit
Let's do it.
southern gumbo.
I feel like we're gonna have some very crazy cookout
Dude,
times.
that's all I do during the summer.
It's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
I've been doing, so pizza, like you go to Pizza Hut or something, you order pizza like $25-$30. It's like, holy crap.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I've been
it's
getting,
not
I bought
good.
I'm all about like, charcoal's my preferred, like you can't beat charcoal as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Like, I like the pellet grills and stuff like that. It's real convenient when it comes to smoking, but when it comes to like cooking a steak, I'll go to charcoal every time.
It's just the flavor.
I bought this kettle. Well, I got the Weber grill. That was one of my first charcoal grills. I still have it. I treat it like it's one of my kids or something. It's like polish it up, like
Right.
WD-40 on the wheels. Like I'm keeping the same pristine condition. I just love it. So it will be with me forever. But I bought a pizza attachment to it, and I cook. But basically, I can just go like buy like $15 worth of ingredients, like flour, some sugar, some yeast, whatever. I make my own dough.
Right.
I make my own pizzas at my house.
Yeah.
It's 400 times better than any pizza that I'll buy around here, and it's like a fraction of the cost. It's like
We do the same thing.
it's so good.
I haven't bought it yet, but I bought a Camp Chef smoker, and they have an attachment for the pizza too. I just haven't bought it yet, but it's coming.
Oh yeah, I love.
I'm
eating.
not I don't know if I like cooking, but the pizza probably I'm not gonna cook my own pizza.
It's super
I
simple.
love Jack's Pizza so much that I just can't get over it. A little cardboard pizza. Oh,
I'm the same way. I mean,
After a few beers,
that
maybe.
Jack's
you
Pizzas.
just put one down, like the
Oh,
whole thing. Just
yeah.
you wake up the next morning, Tabasco or everything.
Right.
Those are absolutely that's my guilty pleasure is Jack's Pizzas. Like, oh my God.
I like a Tombstone too. They used to have those Big Mike pizzas in Walmart.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some good ones out there. Going back to politics, last politics question. Do you feel that the systems that are like the two-party systems that are in place are still work in today's time?
No, I mean I don't think there's any party anymore. I think it's all ran by the same people.
Yeah, he says uniparty all the time.
Uniparty.
You have this illusion of having a choice. You have this illusion of being a Democrat or a Republican, but at the end of the day, the strings are all being pulled by the same people.
No, they all live in the same city. Kids go to the same place.
Yeah.
go to the same bars, go to the
They
same
all live in the same
church.
area.
That's the saddest part about it is the kids, man. Like the educational program, I feel like kids these days are they're I don't know. I shouldn't say all the kids, but like these kids are in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, this younger generation coming up, like
I'm really hoping a lot of parents, I know a lot of parents that I'm friends with they're putting the effort to rectify that situation. And
that's where it has to happen.
I mean, it should have always been that way, but I think in the last 30, 40 years, it kind of switched where parents started giving away that control, and it swung too far.
Yeah.
And they assumed that the teachers had their best interests that they wanted as a family, and they don't. They have the best interest that the teacher wants as a society to go forward, as opposed to what you think is right for your child.
Yeah. I feel like kids are, they're stuck on their phones, they're stuck on their digital devices, and they're being programmed to think and to believe certain things nowadays when it comes to, I mean, this whole race thing, the whole sexual, the gender, LG, whatever the hell it is. Like, come on, like parents need to step up. Parents need to get involved and be more involved. And I know everyone's working; they're trying to make a living, and both parents are working. And kids go to school. Like, you feel kind of helpless because you're really most people aren't in a situation where you can really interject.
Yeah. To
the point where you need to, but like. You got to keep your kids on. I mean, I heard shit about like, and at Norfolk High, I had a guy that's working for us that just came on. It was like he was a teacher, and he quit because like the organization, the administration was like allowing kids to put litter boxes out in the hallways and shit. I'm like, is that even true? Like, is that shit even happening?
Some of it was. I don't know if it was litter boxes, but I know there were. And I know from a student that was there a couple years ago, there were kids eating on the floor out of bowls. Like,
if my kid wanted to pretend,
they were trying to say it didn't happen. So I'm not trying to say it happened, but I'm telling you, I had a source that told me it was happening.
It's all hearsay to me. But if that shit's actually, if my kid wanted to be a cat,
what are you going to do? Act all nimbly bimbly like you drinking milk out of a saucer?
The cat, he would be a cat, or he or she would be a cat. Like they would be at all times. They would sleep outside probably too, and they would have a litter box, and they would eat cat food.
Go catch some food.
Let's see how long you want to be a cat. They wouldn't be a cat very freaking long. Like,
right?
Like it's just, I don't know. That's my biggest concern is the youth, man. Like
the more division we keep happening, the more like descriptions we have for certain things, the worse it's going to get. And the more division is going to happen. We talk about that all the time on our other podcasts. Is just, and that's this whole thing about race. Like, I don't care what race you are, as long as you're a good fucking person.
Yeah.
Like,
people. The 100%. Sad thing is, people can't have a conversation anymore.
Right.
No.
People lead with their emotions, and they're all one sided on whatever outlet that they're watching and getting their information from, and they're just like, boom, like they can't even compromise. They can't listen to each other. That's the reality of the situation. Right. That's the problem. Like.
So I think about it a lot in the last few years. I've always thought about it, and obviously with both of my grandpas have died. My grandfathers have died in the last 5 or 6 years. But I feel like I was really blessed, and this is maybe where my privilege has been. Is I grew up every Sunday going to my grandma and grandpa's as a family. My whole family went. My aunt and uncle, all 3 aunt and uncles, and my cousins, every Sunday we would go have lunch at my grandma and grandpa's, and then the cousins would play football in the yard, do all this other stuff. We'd go to church first, then go to grandma and grandpa's every Sunday. And I feel super blessed because I don't think a lot of people were allowed that opportunity to hang out. My cousins were my best friends when I was younger. Yeah. That's kind of, your family's always starts back in the day, at least in the farm world, in the ag world. Your first best friends are always your family,
right?
With your siblings, and then your cousins, and then your school friends, basically, because you spend more time around your family. And I felt really blessed, and I think that's a huge thing that's been missing in the last few generations.
It's hard to even get kids
because you can't really. But
Christian's age, like it's hard to even get kids to be able to come over to the house.
Yeah,
it's tough.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because they're so entrapped in their online world that they're in, and their followers and this and that, and this idea of like starting a YouTube channel and being able to get rich because all the people they watch that they're following. Yeah. It's just like this misconception of what reality is. Get back to the running around, like when I was like you said, like when I was running around, like I was running around barefoot playing games. I didn't have, I love, don't get me wrong, I love video games. I always love video games growing up and stuff like that. But it's like my parents would be like, "Hey, you've had enough. Like, go outside.
Get your ass outside.
Yeah. Like
figure it out.
Go to the river.
Touch grass,
go explore and go get into trouble. Like, go get out of here." And if you try to separate a kid from their iPhone or whatever the hell they're using nowadays, they'll have a conniption fit. They'll have a meltdown. Like,
for sure.
They don't even know how to live.
We still deal with that, and we even monitor it. It's a problem.
I don't even look at it like when I was talking about on the Sunday thing. It was awesome having the kids together, but I think it was more important that the adults were there. So the grandpa, grandma, grandpa were there.
The whole family tree.
The great grandpa, grandma, or whatever, and then all the aunts and uncles. You're all there. Everybody's there, and you learn as a kid what it's like to be an adult. I always had a vision,
values, and
the Sunday dinner. I mean, the kids had your own table.
Yeah,
you were in the prayer. Everybody shut up. Grandpa's doing the prayer.
Yeah.
And it's over, and like, all right, let's.
You had respect.
Yeah, you learned.
That's the key word is respect.
Yeah, and you all ate
we've
together.
lost that nowadays.
Yeah,
and I look back on those and it's fondly.
Even some adults our age don't have fucking respect for anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Dude, yeah. More people need to practice the golden rule. Just do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. And that's it. And live by that. Be a good neighbor. Be a good person. Don't be negative. Like, everyone has their demons. Like, everyone goes throughout their day and they have their problems, but try to be positive. Try to live a positive life. Try to, be a positive influence on your kids and the people that are around you. And what's the benefit of being a negative, angry person all your life? It's just going to be a miserable life. Like, why?
No joy.
I just don't understand it, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I think this is the second episode in a row that our guest has said something that goes back to what a previous guest, John Hausman, had said about.
Yep.
He lives his life as just to be nice to everybody. Yeah. Like, that's the way he
so I don't know
honors
if you
his
listened
daughter.
to it. So yeah, his daughter passed away very early in life, and his outlook on it was so crazy. Just that they didn't take it in any kind of a grief way. And I'm sure they did.
They fight their grief or battle their grief.
They fight the grief to live like she did.
Yeah.
And in a positive and treat everybody
Just
well.
treat everybody nice.
yeah.
It's just,
You man, like what's the alternative? Like you try to like blame other people for what's happened to you in your life.
That's what most, that's, well, I'm not going to get it on this podcast, but yeah.
I mean, it might feel good to go that route, and it might make you get some sort of satisfaction at the time for 2 seconds, but then you're going to go home and you're going to be right back in your same situation. Like, yeah, man, just try to build off of the good, build off the bad, try to improve your situation.
Yeah.
You have a bad day, go home that night and just say, wow, that was rough. Like, what can I do to, one thing, like with being a manager, like I went from like, doing everything and being so incredibly focused on like, that things are done the right way with every aspect of our business to, hiring people. And one of the biggest obstacles to me was like allowing people to do the things that I was doing.
To delegate.
And trusting and delegate.
That's hard to do.
And people would come, because I start the day with goals, and I think it's good to like start a day with like a game plan and try to have some things you want to accomplish in your day. So like, you have this idea of like what you want to do in a day. And what was the hardest thing for me was, just not being able to accomplish those things. When people would come up to me and say, "Hey, help me do this," or ask me this question, or like I'm in the middle of doing something and they're coming to me for help. At first, that was tough for me. Like it was a difficult thing for me to deal with, because I wanted to accomplish what I wanted to do. I don't want to spend my time, necessarily helping other people. But then it's like, it just hit me like, you know what? If I spend more time, helping people do the things I want them to do, they're not going to come back to me and ask me these same questions. And eventually they're going to get to the point where they're capable of just kind of doing things and learning on their own. And I don't have to like be in that position again. Like
a lot of people don't realize that.
If they come into my office or, come to and I say, I'm busy, go away. Like they're going to come back and they're going to come back and I'm never going to make any progress. So it's like, take the time. And that I think that kind of example can be used for everything, like with your kids, with all these different things in life. Like if you just take the time to help your kids or, help some stranger, your neighbor, whatever, like you're going to feel better about it. Like it's going to help you. It's going to put you in a better position in life.
Even if it's 5, 10, 20 times, that saves the 100 times they're going to keep coming back to you.
Yeah.
Right.
So be a good leader, like whether it's a business or just a friend or, don't be so selfish. Don't be so focused on yourself, and just know that the world's bigger than what you have going on in your personal life. And if someone like I said, we were talking about earlier, like someone comes to you and you're at a restaurant and someone's just a waiter's just like really cold and whatever, don't take it personal. Like maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe something terrible happened to them, and they just are on the edge and they don't want to deal with it. Like, don't just assume like, oh, this guy's terrible or girl's terrible at what they're doing. Like, and I'm never coming back here. Like, that could be the case. It could not. Like, you come back there a second, third time, they're the same way. Then sure, like you can come to that realization. But it's like, give people the benefit of the doubt and try to understand. Be a little more reasonable with an understanding with people.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yep, I like it. Going to that, and just like on your service side, a lot of people don't realize, or like to helping other people. A lot of people don't realize that service is selfishly fulfilling. Like if you give service to somebody with nothing in return, I mean, you may not like it to begin with, and I bitch about it all the time being voluntold. I talk about it, but when it's done, I mean, it's euphoric. It is a good feeling. Like it. A lot of people have never felt that feeling. They've never done it. It is a really good thing to actually do.
That is why I like the business that I'm in. I get that I'm being paid to be here. I get that, but it's all the little things that we do for service wise.
Yeah,
making sure that people are covered correctly or whatever it is. It makes me feel good at the end of the day.
Huge impact on their lives.
Yeah, I'm honest.
I think that's why I like cooking and just like on holidays or Christmas or something, you're giving presents. Like I've always been more satisfied and feel more, I get more satisfaction when I'm giving someone a present than when I get a present.
Oh, for sure.
When seeing their expression, or when I'm cooking something and they eat it and they're like, wow, this is really good. I'm like, yeah.
Isn't that the best feeling in the world?
I feel better when
I think dinner parties are my favorite thing in the world.
Oh.
And I don't eat until everybody else eats.
Yeah, exactly. Why don't you eat? Why don't you eat? It's like, well, first off, I've been tasting this as the whole time, but aside from that, I mean,
my brother and I, like it causes arguments with,
I know,
with
my grandma,
the family.
My grandma,
Like,
you're gonna eat. No, grandma,
through.
take the plate, get through. It's like, come on.
Everybody first. We are the last two through the line.
Like I'll make people's plates. I'm like, let me make your plate for you. Like I want you to eat this. I want to see if you like it.
It's crazy.
I love that. It's good. It's good to see people that are like that too. You don't run into that too often. I hate receiving gifts. I don't like it whatsoever. But you have to take them every now and then.
Yeah. It becomes a technical. It's just like, the whole gift giving thing. At a certain point, it's like you have to get a little creative. Like create something from the heart. Like don't just go buy. Like
don't go buy stuff. Yeah.
Try to do something and make it more memorable. And
because if you're a gift giving person, you want to do it a lot, and then it gets kind of expensive.
Yeah, that too.
So you got to get creative with the with the care of it and the expense of it. But yeah. All right, I think we're going to wrap up here real shortly. Where do you see yourself going in the future? Are you enjoying where you are? Do you see yourself staying in Northeast Nebraska?
I've been a lot of places with the business all over the country. It's funny because there's times I'll walk outside in Nebraska and I'll ask myself, like, why do I live somewhere where the air hurts my face? Is this really where I want to be, or are there better places to live? You know, I'll go to Georgia. Like, for example, when I'm out in the fields here in Nebraska, running through a cornfield, not worrying about much, you know, just getting through it, getting to the system where I need to go. I was down in Georgia. First pivot I got on was a ton of black widow spiders on the wheels and all throughout the tower. Got to the pivot point. There's a giant hornet's nest with hornets with purple asses the size of your thumb, gators, there's snakes, there's everything you can imagine. And then I thought that was like the worst of it. And the guy came up to me, he's like, you got to watch out for sinkholes. I'm like, sinkholes? And he's like, yeah, well, things like swallow like entire spans. I'm like, what? Then I get up to like Wisconsin and, you know, which is beautiful. Actually, Wisconsin's really beautiful. Get up there. But, you know, there's bears, different things you have to watch out for. Not so much like they have the reset button up there with the climate and stuff like we have here. But Phoenix and Arizona, you know, it's real super hot. Texas is incredibly hot, you know, and it gets hot here too. But like always end up coming down to the same realization, which is, no, Nebraska's not so bad. And I think every place that wherever you're at, it's you gotta make the most of it. You gotta like. I like seeing the seasons. I think if I would move from here, like I would miss it. I would miss the seasons and being able to see what nature has to offer, and you know, being a part of that. So yeah, I don't foresee myself really moving too far away from this area. I like Norfolk. You know, I'm not a big you know, my sister was in Houston. My sister was in Denver. I go visit them, and like if I'm at a stop sign here or a stoplight for more than no, I shouldn't say stoplight, but if I'm at a stop sign for like more than 30 seconds and I see like 3 cars in a row, I'm like, is there an emergency? Like, why am I, what's going on? Like, is something happening around here? So like, I'm all for like visiting area, you know, highly populated areas and experiencing what they have to offer, but I couldn't live there. I can't manage my day. I can't plan my day around traffic. It's just not me. I couldn't do it.
You must not drive at school time around the school.
It gets
areas.
Bad. Roundabouts. That's a whole other thing. Oh my God, guys! If you're listening, let me just say something, because I think about this every day.
You do it
every single day. So roundabouts. Let's just talk about this. Think about it like this: if you're in a roundabout, it's similar to if you're on an interstate. The people that are merging onto the interstate have to yield to you.
Yeah.
If I'm in a roundabout, I don't yield to the people that are getting into the roundabout. Right. If I see someone using their blinker coming into a roundabout, I know I need to stay away. I'm sorry, because I don't care. Like you say, I'm telling you where I'm turning. No one knows where you're turning. They're going to sit there and watch you anyway because they have no fucking idea what you're going to do.
Defensive driving, yeah.
So don't use your blinker in a roundabout. It's a waste of time. The police don't even use it. It's not a law. They're not going to pull you over for it for a reason, because it's not a law, because it makes no sense. Like, it's too quick. Things are happening too quick. The blinker does nothing for you.
Get in and
you know
get
what's
out.
so funny? I just saw a post on the Madison County bitching page about blinkers in the roundabout that has 65 comments on it.
I saw it.
Yes.
So,
but I agree with you.
Please, just don't go into the roundabout. And don't you yield when you go into the roundabout. That's all you have to. That's all you have to understand. Just yield. That's all you have to do.
That's the only time you yield. Once you're in, do not yield.
Once you're in, go.
I know you're going. Don't use your blinker. You have one way you're going. You have no other option. You're going into the roundabout. Don't fuck around with me. Anyway, so what was the other question?
That's it.
So Nebraska, but yeah, like in the future,
Yeah, Fieldwise is the long term. Continue building that.
And obviously, you guys are doing well. So
Yeah, man. You guys need to stop by, swing out, give a little tour, show you what's going on.
let's do it. Let's schedule that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're neighbors, so we can figure that out.
We just found that out. Yeah, we can do that.
Other than that, I like Norfolk. It's about the right size. I think just there's enough stuff to do, enough amenities, different things from a business standpoint, from just social life. I think there's enough people here to it's a good community. It's good for your kids, good school. It's a safe environment. I think that we can sit here and talk about all the things that could be improved, but I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of good people out there making good decisions. And they have the best interest of the community as a whole. And, as long as we as the people, are continuing to hold people to a standard and make sure that, things are moving in the right direction, I think that Norfolk will be a good place to live in the future.
I agree with you. I always hear, you shouldn't stay in your hometown, but I'm happy where I'm at. So I think we're moving in the right direction, and we're getting, we're touching base with other people with this podcast, and it's been kind of a cool thing. Did you enjoy your time?
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
You gonna come back on?
Anytime you want.
We got another podcast. You might enjoy that one. Come and hang out on the useless assumptions. We can talk a little more, get a little more in depth on your views.
Absolutely. Anytime. You know where to find me.
I do now. I do. All right. Well, Jared, we appreciate you coming on.
Yep.
We'll get you on again. And anything else you want to say to listeners?
No, go Huskers.
Go Skurs.
Yeah.